sir to provide some inputs into this workshop and the international perspective. Then I will get into my presentation.
So before to that, I'm sorry, Nilaj. So I just wanted to mention here that the ministry do not believe on CPHU. We are not technical. So we are technical, but actually I mean to say that we have just engaged the ASCII as a capacity building partner with the ministry. So it's a good thing for us that we will be providing the capacity. We are increasing the capacity through the ASCII to other organizations. So she will work with us for a project up to the March 2026. So we are very much fortunate to have a system of people in on our board. Thank you, Nilaj.
Good afternoon, everybody, and namaskar. It is nice meeting Ms. Neela Baji today for the first time from ASCII, so pleasure is all mine. And of course, as Dr. Ramakant mentioned, was there for about 9 years, and then subsequently I was promoted to become the CEO of that utility, which actually was responsible for water, wastewater, broadband, and electricity. And we were the largest publicly owned electric utility in the state of Wisconsin. And we were the 5th largest water utility in the state of Wisconsin. And in 2020, just before, what was it, 2020? 2020, so in June of 2020, I basically took a resignation retirement from the organization, and I subsequently started my own consulting, where I do provide a lot of strategic advice to people and in the US and internationally as well. And the reason I share this with you is about 15 years ago, a little more than that, I had the honor of being the president of American Water Works Association. And American Water Works Association is the largest water-related organization in the world. Yes, and I was the very first non-US citizen or Indian as the president of that organization. So it was a great honor. And incidentally, it also happened to be the youngest president ever elected to become the president of AWWA in the USA. So I have been very honored and very privileged to do some of those things. And once I became the president, I wanted to come back and give something back to the home country. And I have been visiting India since 2005 every year. And prior to that, I used to come once every other year to keep my relationship with my parents, friends, and water professionals in India. So it has been a great journey for all these years. And it was in 2005 or 2006 when I first was at the ministry office in New Delhi, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs with CPHEO folks. And they gave me the manual of practice for water systems in India and treatment. And I was perusing through it, and there were a lot of information that was outdated. So I proposed at that time to the people in charge there, saying, somebody needs to update this manual. And after about 15 years, the German government, GIZ, stepped up and funded the program for updating the manual for water supply and treatment. And from being just 2 parts, one was the design aspect, the second was O&M aspect. The third section was added all about management. And it was easily identified during that process that capacity building was a must in India to develop the workforce for the future and even for today. And this is part of that workshop. And I also happen to be very fortunate, thanks to Ramakant sir, that I was involved quite a bit in reviewing and editing and including some of the more recent technologies that are used around the world as part of this new manual. And also requiring that if there is new technologies being adopted in India, that is well and good, but make sure you do pilot studies to understand that there is a success associated with that, rather than just implementing and trusting the vendors or the suppliers for some of those technologies. Because some technologies will work in one part of the country, but may not necessarily work in the other parts of the country. So you want to make sure that you conduct pilot studies. So with that, I'm going to shut up now, hand it back to Snehilataji, and then when we have an open discussion, I'll be willing to share or answer any questions that you may have.
So just I want to mention two things. When he was talking about the friendship, so in the name of friendship, I think yesterday I requested him to make a training program for our contractors and consultants, because Amrut 2.0 we have about 3,000 contractors, those who are implementing the projects in different states. So we requested him to just give a training for 2 hours, 3 hours online training to the contractors in the name of friendship. So he immediately agreed, okay, we'll do it as a pro bono. So we are not paying anything for him. The second thing is, when we were discussing about the manual, water supply manual, part A, part B, and part C. Part A basically for the engineering, part B is basically for O&M, and part C is for the management of the water supply system. So a second pro bono, that part C management is drafted by Madam ASCII pro bono, and she is the only instrumental woman, we can say, to just draft all the entire part C manual. Later on, this what it was reviewed by Nilaj. So these are the something pro bono going in the name of friendship. So thank you, man. Thank you, man.
He is, and then yeah, any midnight, no, whether it is midnight, early morning, any hour, even when he is busy on a field with it. What I'm trying to tell is such a passionate person, and he drives that capacity building component so diligently from the ministry side, and which is very, very appreciative. And I think with few words, I mean, it's not about, I don't have to really, praise you here. I'm just trying to tell you, inspire us to carry forward the same commitment and inspiration. That's what I just wanted to mention. So with these few words, I think let me get back to my presentation. Okay. Yes, please, sir. Because I'm also switching my mode to trainer or teacher or something. I can't sit and talk when I'm presenting. I'll have to stand and do it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending. It's such a, I mean, though we started a little low on the attendance, but now I see the full attendance here. I'm so glad that everybody's joined. As you all know, that how important the drinking water for every one of us to survive. Our daily life begins with water. Without water, we can't even imagine ourselves. So, what government of India envisioned is the cities, the livable cities. Oh yeah, maybe you can just. So, one of the most important part of this livable cities is to have the continuous water supply, that's drink from tap, which is a must for a developing nation like India. Unless until we have this particular water, the continuous water drink from tap is available for the people, it's very difficult for us to carry forward the rest of the development indicators. So, with that, but then we are having a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. It's not that you do not know. I'm sure you know better than me about all these things that I'm going to present here. But I just wanted all of us to be on the same page so that we can continue with the discussions for the next 2 hours. So, the problems of this, instead of continuous water supply, we in India are adopting the intermittent water supply system. Because of this intermittent water supply system, we are risking the public health. People are suffering. Because of the waterborne diseases, people are losing labor days, people are losing, there are health consequences, and there are so much of economic loss to the country. And then there is reduction in the life of assets. If it is a continuous process of water supply, the assets will have a longer life compared to having these intermittent life. And then there is so much of inconvenience and economic loss to the citizens, especially the poorest of the poor. So just go into the little bit of details into this. I think how the water gets contaminated is because of the mixture of sewerage and groundwater gets into the drinking water pipelines, and because of lack of pressure, it goes into the system, and then there is a problem with it. So if there is a continuous water supply, this ingression will not be there. I think more of these details will be covered by the next speakers. I'm not getting into the technical details. Let me go back to the social dimension. Because of this, people get agitated. This is again from my own city where I come from in Hyderabad. There was an incident in Bolakpur where the contamination happened and people died. So there was so much of an uproar in the entire city. This is one of the example of how the public health can be affected. And also because of suboptimal water quality due to storage of the water. Recently, ASCII did a study, and across the entire supply chain, starting from the water treatment plant to the storage of the household. So what we found is, at different levels of pipeline system, starting from the treatment plant to the doorstep, the water was having the chlorine levels which are at the required ppm. But when it is at the storage level, the E. coli contamination was there and the chlorine levels were suboptimally low. So that means that even water utilities with great difficulty provides clean water, but at the doorstep, our lack of awareness among the households, it's getting contaminated, thereby people are suffering with problems. So there was a study, again, as I was telling, that there are better health benefits if you provide continuous water supply. This research also proved the same. If you have continuous water supply, like towards 24-hour, if you see, there are better health benefits compared to the lesser hours of supply. And then, as I said, asset deterioration, we are bringing from large distances, and then pipelines gets unnecessary stress, and there is a shortening of the life of the infrastructure. Again, we end up replacing the whole system. Again, the capital intense measures happen, and then because we have to completely replace the entire system. So that's another danger that we have. And then inconvenience and economic loss to the citizens, especially to the poor. It's the health costs, it's loss of wages, it's the social problems. Again, not only the customer has to not only pay for water, that is the water charges or the tariffs, they also have to have coping costs. The coping costs include storage tanks. They will have to have overhead tanks. If it is a continuous water supply, they don't need to invest on all these things that I am talking about. Pumping costs, because they store in the sump, again they have to pump up. So that is the power supply as well as the pump costs, and then the water treatment costs. A lot of them also buy water filters. That's also a cost. And then the labor costs. And then despite all these things, again, they get into the health issues. That's where your medical treatment costs are also coming. So what I'm trying to tell is the intermittent water supply systems are increasing the pressure or coping costs of the households. So ultimately what happens is, I am sure, as a kid, I witnessed this situation. Some of you who are sitting in this room would also seen this situation where there used to be fights and customer dissatisfaction, and then the household's economic improvement is restricted because they have to stand in these lines to fetch water, and there is high customer inconvenience. So, to address all these problems, I am sure all of you are with me on these problems, isn't it? Do we see these kind of situations? Yes, I do see some hands being raised. So the solution for all these things is providing continuous pressurized water supply. Recognizing this, Government of India started Amrut 2.0 program, the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, and it is aiming to provide functional tap connection to all the households. As part of this, the program includes water security, circular economy, and payjal survection, and they are also focusing on the capacity building, information, education, and communication. The mission started in 2021, and it's going to be there till 25-26. So the aim is, by the end of the mission period 2025, every household in this country is supposed to be having the continuous pressurized water supply system. So there are so many efforts that the government is making, and government is also made benchmarks for the water supply standards. They want to, by the end of the mission, they would like to achieve the 100% water supply connections, and then minimum per capita availability for urban is 100 LPC, 135 LPCD. Every meter should be, it's very ambitious, but at least we have, yeah, well, sorry, maybe this is not absolute. I think it's on an average, I think we have put 150 LPCD. Yes, rural also it varies, 55 to 135. It's 150, but towns it is 135. Anyway, I think 10 metro, sir. That's what this is. Exactly, sir. This is, yes, sir. Corporations, metro cities. Again, sir, let me tell you, sir, the government of India very clearly gave the cities can define their own norms. This is only a benchmark. You can have more number of liters depending upon your water available in your own cities, depending on the water sector. This is the minimum water supply level. The benchmark is this much. This is the minimum that every town should achieve. Yes, yes. Okay? Yes. 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 All the parameters, the service level benchmarks are given, and then based on this, you can have improvised systems than this. But the minimum is this, and every city should at least meet these parameters. Slightly ambitious, but it has to be, this level is what we are trying to envisage as part of the Government of India's program. Then the non-revenue water, they would like to have it only 20%. They want to reduce the non-revenue water so that there is a efficiency in the system, and then we can able to provide the water, the 135 or 150 LPCD for every household. Same thing again, the complaint redressal systems should be 80%. All the complaints, 80% achievement has to happen, and then treatment and disinfection has to happen. The water quality has to be 100%, and then cost recovery of the system should be 100%, and then collection of water supply related charges, the tariff should be 90%, and number of perceiving, I think the last one is no one should receive less than 70 LPCD. That's what Government of India, CPHO is envisioning, and then providing this kind of benchmark to each city. So towards that, the journey is positive. We are growing. We are, if you see the census figures, the percentage of increase in piped water supply is going up. These are 2019 figures. If we take it now, it's even up to 97, 98%. And we are also going in terms of providing more number of liters. We are having good progress, but if you see the average hours of supply, it's only 3 hours per day. This is where we are. Instead of going towards 24/7, we are still at 3 hours. This is where we are having the challenge. So is the goal of continuous water supply for all feasible and ever achievable in India? A lot of you must be having doubts. A lot of us also had doubts when we started, partnering with various cities on this 24/7 water supply programs. But the countries, the international experiences show that the similar conditions, like when you take Colombo, Sri Lanka, or Kampala in Uganda, or any of these, Kuala Lumpur, any of these cities that you compare with, which are similar to Indian cities, have achieved this. It's not very difficult for us to achieve this. That's what the international experiences says. But again, you might also have a doubt in your mind, is there enough water in Indian cities for 24/7 water supply? Because we always see that our groundwater levels are going down. We always say there is stressed water levels. But if you see, we can achieve it, because if you compare with the other international cities, Singapore is giving 150 LPCD 24/7. Whereas our Hyderabad is giving 167, Bhubaneswar is giving 280, and then if you see Belgaum, Rajkot, we are all giving the quantity of water. But thing is, we are at 1 or 2 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, we are still not going with 24/7 water supply. And one of the biggest challenge that we all face is that on an average, if you see, India is only 2 hours of water supply with 24/7 leakages. It's very disheartening to state this, but this is the challenge that we are facing. Again, when we ask this question, is 24/7 water supply feasible in Indian cities? Yes, it is feasible, provided there is a clause. The non-revenue water is reduced significantly. Unless we address the issues of non-revenue water, we will not be able to achieve the 24/7 that we are talking about. All those case studies who are going to come and talk about later after my presentation will talk about how they have addressed the non-revenue water, which is the key for 24/7 water supply. So I'm not going into the details of the definition and all that. You all are the technical people. How do you calculate the balance and all that, you know. But the one point that I would like to bring to your notice is, all of us are going, in many cities, we are going farther and farther to get water to the cities. Hyderabad, we have gone 190 or 200 kilometers, Godavari. If you see Godavari, Delhi, we have gone to Tehri Dam. When we look at Godavari, they went to 250 kilometers Kaveri water. So the larger the distance, the more losses or the non-revenue water. So unless we address these kind of issues and then start alternatives of rainwater harvesting or other things, it's become very difficult for us to address this non-revenue water that I was talking about. Also, this water wastage. This is another thing which is part of your NRW. There are water leakages, then there is water theft. I'm sure those who are working with utilities would know what I'm talking about, the water theft. And then there is contamination of whatever that 80% left. And then there are at the customer level also there are big losses. My colleague who's sitting here in Hyderabad, who was part of this initiative that we have done, we estimated at least 5 million gallons of water is every day wasted in Hyderabad city at customer premises. We ran a big campaign called WALK, Water Leadership and Conservation, where we could arrest a lot of these wastage at the household level. I'm sure this is one of my favorite cartoon. So everybody is sitting and discussing, should we share river water, should there be new dams, or should there be rainwater harvesting? But the person who is bringing drinking water is telling what should be the solution. So, as I said again, the questions that I posed, is the water sufficient for 24/7 in India, or will we be able to reach that goal of 24/7? Yes, compared to the international experience, we did do it in India as well. ASCI was part of all these initiatives. We have this Malkapur case study. Even now they are running 24/7 water supply for the last 16 years or so. We have a case study of Karnataka, Hubli, Dharwad. They are still running. It started with the World Bank program and then they are still running. And we have Nagpur, again the best example. We have Orissa, Puri. My colleague Mr. Tripathi is here. He will be talking about it. Then we have Coimbatore. Mr. Venugopal is here. He will be talking about it. I'm not getting into the details. But I just wanted to consolidate from all these experiences where ASCI was part of, there were certain lessons for us to learn, for all of us to learn and relate to. So some of the lessons for accelerating this 24/7 water supply in India is, it results in public health improvement, as we already seen, and the case studies from across is saying that public health is possibly going in a positive way if you provide continuous water supply. And there are these myths of water supply are also there, which are very important to eliminate or take it out. People think that 24/7 water supply is not necessary. Why we get it's also the aspiration levels. We have 1 hour of water supply sufficient with good pressure, we are happy with. We are not even, encouraging the aspirations of the citizens that like water is always available. You don't have to wait or you don't have to look at your clock for the water to come, but you can have 24/7 water supply. People think that it's very expensive and poor cannot afford. Again, it's myth. The success stories will talk about it. Again, this is also a myth. 24/7 service requires too much water. That's not true at all. You will see the in the case studies. And then the lesson 3 is that there has to be an appetite for 24/7. The people have to be really get into that kind of attitude that yes, it is achievable. Yes, we can deliver. Yes, we can achieve this 24/7. So a lot of it to do with the demand or the appetite for the 24/7. And we need to have committed political leadership. Again, you will see in the case studies, and the community has to come forward to be part of this. We need to prepare the communities for that, and the staff has to be dedicated, and they have to believe in 24/7. Then only this is possible. This is what one of the lesson is. And another lesson is that investment in distribution improvement should precede source augmentation. So what happens is they don't bother about the source, how much water is available, whether we have secured water for the entire season. We don't focus on that and then start putting on the pipelines. So we need to really look at what the source augmentation as one of the important component for 24/7. And then the leaking bucket syndrome, again, we discussed about it already. And then the lesson 6 is organizational development is very important. As Mr. Nilanjan sir was talking about the capacity building, the whole manual that Ramakant sir was talking about, everything is talking about importance of capacity building. Unless until the staff and the stakeholders are completely built, their capacities to gear up for 24/7, it's very difficult. And exposure visits are also very important. And the most important thing is peer learning, like how we are all sitting to learn from each other. This is also one of the most important thing and important lesson for us. And the lesson 7 is communication and consultation are very important components for the reforms before and during the implementation. The reforms are very important. Communication, the IEC, information, education, communication is the must. As I was talking about the example of the water having the chlorine level is having the optimal ppm up to the doorstep, but after that at the storage point it is contaminated. So that IEC is very important, and it is not often, it is a neglected component, and they are all addressed only during crisis, like how we did for Corona. And then internal communication and external communication are also very important, and misinformation needs to be taken away from the system. That's where your IEC and communication is very important. And then the lesson 8 is that service delivery for the poor should be integral component of reforms, especially when we are talking about the public-private partnerships. So the poor, the costs for the connection costs, the household connection costs sometimes are very difficult for the poor to afford. So maybe can we think of cross-subsidization or waiving of this whole costs for connection costs for the poor, and delinking land tenure for water and sanitation service. All of you who are working at the utilities would know that IHI, individual household latrines were not given because of lack of house tenancy or the land or the household patta. Because of patta not being there, they were not eligible to get the incentive for the IHL. Similarly, if you are not having the patta or your own incumbency, your own house certificate, the connection also will be difficult. That's where your migrant labor, your poor, your unrecognized, or the, what do you call them? Slums that are not recognized by the government. Non-notified slums. So we get into the problems for those kind of areas where the land tenure is not given. Then the lesson number 9 is that cost recovery and tariffs. These are very important. We are all very scared to touch upon this subject, because the moment we say 24/7, people are afraid where our costs will go up, or because it is the volume supplied, that's why you will charge me more. So those kind of misconceptions have to be completely taken out. Subsidies are essential. Rational tariff with clear and transparent subsidies have to be there. Billing and collection efficiency should be improved and shall proceed with the tariff rationalization. And the most important lesson is promotion of innovations. There are so many innovators that are coming up. New technologies are coming up, and Government of India, as part of Amrut, has started this pitch to pilot scale challenge, where the innovators are asked to apply for this challenge, and then there will be a committee which scrutinizes all these applications, and then they will shortlist the innovators who are really good or the innovation which is promising, and then they will fund about 20 lakhs for that innovation, and they will work with the utilities, pilot their innovation at the utility level, and then the best pilots are the pilots that are scalable are promoted by government. So this is a very, very innovative program that Government of India has taken, and ASCII is providing technical support for this whole initiative. And we see one of the innovator is here sitting. He will be talking during the panel discussion here. So what we need to do is we need to pilot and nurture these innovators, and we need to document and then scale up these innovations, because India always cannot afford very high range companies, big companies, to come and do the operational maintenance for every city. This is where the small investors or the small players or small innovators, MSMEs, will play a big role. So we need to nurture and then scale up their innovations for taking forward Drink from Tap program, so that we all enjoy the continuous water supply, continuous pressurized water supply, which will provide the public health, which takes care of the public health concern. And Government of India wants the same thing, and ASCII is committed to deliver the program by building the capacities of the people. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. It's a grant, sir. It's a grant. It's a grant. The 20 lakhs is a grant. So Government of India is giving a grant of 20 lakh rupees for the best innovators. And we have so far, we have nurtured more than 700. We have started the challenge. The first challenge took 700 innovators, second one about 340, and the third one we are again doing it for another 400. Out of these people, almost in every district, there is one innovator working. And then there are some innovators which are scaling up. Again, you will listen to the stories of these innovators are the change makers in the long run as part of this.
Yes.
So,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir.
So we will take some questions. We have back-to-back two presentations.
Yes.
We have a presentation from Odisha. We have a presentation from Coimbatore. Thereafter, we will have some discussion. I will come to each and every table and I will take the questions. And then I will discuss with you. So you don't sit idly कि मुझे तो कोई पूछेगा नहीं. मैं खुद आऊँगा, सबसे क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा. तो आप अपना क्वेश्चन तैयार रखिएगा. So I am requesting to all.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please hold. We will anyway have the opportunity for question and answers. Just in the interest of the time, I would like to now request Mr. Chinmay Tripathi, sir, to come and provide the Orissa experience. As you all know, Orissa is implementing 24/7 water supply program in Puri as well as Bhubaneswar. How many more towns, sir? 4 or 5 towns, and 24 towns, 24/7, 24 towns. Excellent figure.
I think
magic figure.
Chinmay is the first person and Puri is the first city.
Yes.
Implement 24/7.
Yes.
Both first are here. Huh? Thank you, Chinmay ji.
Request everyone with a round of applause. Please invite Chinmay, sir.
Thank you. Very good afternoon. I am Chinmay Tripathi representing Odisha today. I'll take you through, we came from very basics. We were in a very precarious situation of drinking water back in say 6-7 years ago. So we started from very basics. So I wanted to take you through our journey, and lastly, where are we now and how we are managing. I'll try to tell our story. It is up to you to pick up, or I'll be available to answer your questions as well. So, drink, sir. नहीं, हिंदी हिंदी अगर ठीक है तो मैं हाँ बोल सकता हूँ सर. In 2019, I'll just tell a small story. 2019, we decided to go into continuous water supply because we had many quality issues, and that quality issue uh, resulted in a lot of waterborne diseases, hepatitis, diarrhea, all that were happening. Around 4,000 jaundice cases happened in 2016-17. So we decided to go into a continuous water supply thing. That time the name was 24 by 7. So when we went to our political bosses, they said you are not able to give 2 hours water, how can you give 24 by 7? So directly the quantity thing comes in. So we had to bring that into their mind to build that political will that this is not about quantity, but it is about quality. So we had to rename the 24 by 7 water supply into drink from tap back in 2019. Sir, I mean, so if we go to drink from tap, I'll not talk about 24 by 7. Of course, for drink from tap, 24 by 7 is mandatory. But let's talk drink from tap because today's session is on drink from tap. How many countries in world have drink from tap facility in their country? If you, as per the control, one of the Center for Disease Control, it's an US government department. They published a, as per their map, they published this kind of map. Around 50, only 50 countries in the world have the drink from tap facility where you can directly drink from the tap. And majority are in Europe, and in American subcontinent also the number might have grown up. It was a 21, 22 figure. So here we tried to, India, we tried to bring in 2019. If I talk about Odisha, Odisha is a fairly coastal state with more than 500 kilometers of coastline. So we are very disaster prone with frequent cyclones every year, twice or thrice that hit us, and that results in disrupted water supply. So, and we are not very urbanized. Around 85% of our people stay in rural and only 50% are urban. We have 115 urban local bodies and only 5 are municipal corporations, more than 5 lakh population. All others are around 1 lakh, 2 lakh population. So just to give you a urban demography of this state, and our urban population is around 7 million. So I work for the urban water supply utility where our job is to provide drinking water to 7 million people. Now in 2016-17, the situation in Odisha was very precarious. Only 30% of our, only 40% of area where we have covered pipe network. You know, that time for JNNURM, when you had to submit a utilization certificate, for one hand pump you used to calculate 150 households and say these are covered. But those were actually not covered. That was access to water was there. So I still remember those days. But now coverage means one is pipeline coverage, or whether all the streets and roads have coverage or not, and then the number of connections. So in 2016-17, only 40% of our roads had a pipe network, and 30% had only a connection. So it was very problematic, and the pressure was low pressure, erratic supply, inconsistent supply. All those things were haunting us. So people, we had a very big legacy issue. People never believed us that we can ever provide good water to them. They were rather happy with the private operators. Plus, there was no metering. The moment we brought up the metering issue, everybody said, no, not now, we should not do metering. So there was no metering. Our non-revenue water, in 2015, we did a baseline study for the entire state. Our non-revenue water was around 54% across the state. And for the case of Puri, which I will be presenting, it was around 47%. And there was a inequity in water supply. Bhubaneswar, the capital city where I come from, there is a powerhouse is there. I mean, the power center of the state is there. So the supply between the cities, if I go to a western part of the state, maybe I'm only providing 10 liters per capita per day, whereas in Bhubaneswar, maybe I'm giving 350 liters per capita per day. or within the city also in slum I am only providing 30 liters per capita, and in post localities where gardens, parks, car washings, it's going around 1000. So there was a big disparity between the cities and also within the city. So we had to properly create that proper rationing. Plus, because of the leakages, contaminations, and intermittent supply, waterborne diseases were very high. Like I said, more than 3,800, 4,000 jaundice and diarrhea cases were there every year. Now, where are we now? This was the gray picture I showed you in last two slides. Now, where are we now? First, in 2017, we released a water policy, our drinking water policy, where the vision of transformation was there, which said that we will provide water to every household, piped water to every household. So the hand pump connection, that calculation has to go off. We have to provide piped water to every household 24 by 7. So the decision we took in 2017, and 100% metering has to be there. So that was the policy. And we started working. So our basic, why I in the beginning of my presentation I said हम लोग fundamental से start किए, because our first idea was we must provide water maybe 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour to every house with piped water connection. So our first objective was not 24 by 7 nor drink from tap. The idea was to at least get water to every home with a piped system. So now today 99% of our urban households have a piped water connection, including slums. In slums, we provided 2 tap connections, one in the kitchen, one in the toilet. And 99% households have connections. In the slums, around 97% of the slums, maybe it's authorized, unauthorized, whatever, they have a piped water connection. Initially we felt we faced much difficulty because slums are ever changing demographies, but now we put it into a system that 97% of our slum households are also have connection, metered, and you will be surprised to know that our efficiency of collection of revenue is more in the slums than in the affluent areas. We collect around 97% our bills from the slums, 97% collection efficiency in slums. So out of the 115 cities, around in 105 cities, we have full 100% connections. So once by 2019 March, I think once we achieved that we are almost saturating the connections, household connections, then we started to move to drink from tap. So 24 by 7 drink from tap, we started, drink from tap means we provide IS 10,500 water, 24 by 7. So Puri in 2019 July, we commissioned the entire city. Then now we are implementing in 24 cities, benefiting around 4 million people, around 40 lakh people. 9 cities are fully covered. Other cities are maybe 90%, 80% some, because our way of operation is also we are going in a progressive manner. We are not attacking a city 100% from the very first day. I will tell you how we go. Our revenue collection in all these drink from tap cities are more than 90%. Our non-revenue water is around 15% or less than 15% in some of the cities, and 100% metering in all our drink from tap cities. Now, first question was how did we achieve the 100% house connection? Because if I just target a pilot area and provide 24 by 7, then other areas will, people will have resentment. So our idea was to get water to every house, piped water first, then we go for 24/7, zone by zone, DMA by DMA. So how did we achieve this last mile connectivity? Because previously we had a big issue. Once a contract is finished, contractor is paid the final money, the project is over, we were asked to prepare another DPR, move to another project, but the last mile connectivity was nobody's business. So we always depended the customer to chase us, submit an application, get a sanction order, and get himself connected through our JEs and field level. So we said our application process and everything were so prohibitive that people were happy not coming to us, rather taking an illegal connection by paying 2,000, 5,000 bribe to our own field level staff. So we thought we have to first settle the connection process. So we simplified the connection process. From 14 documents, we reduced to only 2 documents, because previously we were asking your property document, land, the planning authority approval of the house. Now those things are unfortunately not available with many people. So we took them off, only Aadhaar card and the indemnity bond. Indemnity bond means the customer has to say that any property litigation, anything comes, you are indemnified, I am indemnified. So with those 2 documents, we started giving connections every doorstep. We were given targets to move to every door, give a connection and come back, no connection fee. For urban poor, no connection fee. And for the affluent people, I mean for the regular general people, we have converted the connection fee into 36 installments, which was rather, and we have all the previous arrears, we have actually regularized everything with full amnesty. So that way we got everybody onto our fold, onto our connection fold in 3 to 4 years time. But infrastructure was a big issue. So lot of money was needed to lay these 60% pipes. I told you we are only 40% covered. So we had to lay around 6,000 kilometers of pipeline, 300 MLD of WTP. So we organized money from different sources and implemented all of those projects. But one change we did, which people sometimes do not agree with our strategy, we made every contract very small. Pumping intake different, WTP different, pipeline different. So we made small contracts. We created around 300, 250, 300 contractors in our own state, trained them, made their capacity very small so that they can participate. Because the moment we hire a big guy, he again comes and takes the subcontractors, then we are caught up in a legal battle all the time. So we took a different route. So for 6,000 crore, spending 6,000 crore, we created around 1,200 small DPRs. So quickly multiple projects could go on, or we could complete it. Now metering also, we had we have around 11 lakh connections. For 70 lakh population, around 11 lakh connection, out of which around 7 lakh metering is almost completed. We started from 0 in 2019. In 3 years time, almost 70% we have covered. Another thing, when we when we say my city is 100% covered, nobody, I can say my city is 100% covered, but there was no documentation. Tomorrow if some complaint comes, our executive engineer or they will say that, okay, that street was only not covered, otherwise it was covered. So then we instituted a system that it must be declared by the urban local body that the city is 100% water supply connections are there. So why I am showing you this, we created a local committee with the collector's representative, the mayor, the municipal executive officer, our community representatives, political leadership. They form a committee, they do a thorough recce for 2 months and certify on paper that in this city as on date around 70,000 households as per municipal records, those houses are 100% connected. Now once this declaration is there, nobody can bluff. Then tomorrow if a new house comes, new street comes, it is our job to get them connected to maintain that 100% status. Now that after the executive officer releases this certificate, it goes to the engineer-in-chief, then up to the chief minister's level, where it is tweeted that this city is 100% covered. If somebody is not covered, within 7 days, please come in, we will connect freely. So that way we started declaring, because declaring means we are taking accountability on our head. So that system was put in place. Then in the next step, to corporatize the water service delivery, we functioned as a public health engineering organization previously, where all of our, even if any tender is more than 10% higher premium, I have to go to the finance department, legal department, many processes were there. So we thought we must corporatize and bring in the customer service culture into our service delivery. So first in Odisha, we created a company, it's a government-run company. It's called Water Corporation of Odisha. There, the government of Odisha has the majority of the shares. Then every municipality who signs a performance-based service contract with this company has a stake in the company. So for the municipality, this Watco provides services. The subsidies are absorbed by the municipality. Watco takes its cost, whatever is needed. So we corporatized it. We started in 2015 at one city. Now around 29 cities out of 115 cities are covered under Watco. Out of 29, 24 cities are 24/7 drink from tap. Another 5 cities already started. It will complete maybe by middle of next year. And in 2023 in Madrid, Spain, Watco was also awarded the Water Leader Award. So from the up to now, I've told you the bad story, then how we achieved the 100% connection, then we moved to drink from tap. Now to go to drink from tap 24/7 was one of the ingredients, not everything. Because only 24/7 may not ensure us drink from tap quality water. That's what I meant to say. So our first objective was, our first pilot was in a slum of 500 households, because it was made clear to us that if it is not successful in slums, then we will not proceed further. Because in the slums, they find most difficulty in storing water or fetching water. They have to stand in queues, whereas even middle class families, they have their own motor pumps, they store water and they get 24/7 anyway. The convenience issue is gone, only the quality issue. So they said first we piloted in a slum of 500 households, then we moved to the largest slum of Odisha, which is around 60,000 population, 14,500 households, Salyasai in Bhubaneswar. There we implemented it. Once we were successful, we upscaled to Puri in 2019. So every thatched roof also has a metered connection which provide 24/7. And this is the process. When we started, we first did the GIS based asset mapping, the DMA concept planning, and for us, we were not in a position to replace our 100% or 80% pipes. So we were given a task that you have to identify with how much minimum replacement you can actually convert this intermittent into a 24/7 system. So if I say 80% replacement, I make a big cost, I know that will not fly and our project will not kick off. So the good thing that happened, that to know our own system, we did not have to depend on any contractor or anybody. We had to study ourselves and known that, okay, this is the pipeline which I laid in 2015, this I laid in 2010, this I laid in 2012. So to minimize the replacement. So after the gap assessment, we created the DPRs in-house. We had a problem that most of our house connections were leaking, which we found out. So we replaced most of our house connections with compression and saddle fitting, then 100% metering. Then we went to digital water management. We real-time flow and pressure management now we do. So that also in-house we developed applications, the automations we built in, and now we are doing it in 24 cities. I'll tell in details. Like the CPHO manual, like sir said, that engineering is one part which you can say 24/7, but then the O&M and the management, those two will make this 24/7 actually drink from tap. So that is where not only technical, but all others has to also come in. So we did a KYC. All assets are, all the 115 ULB's assets are digitized. So on a web platform, not only on a GIS system, because all our engineers are not comfortable in GIS systems, they have to depend on a GIS professional all the time. So we took them online on a web platform. So anywhere I go on a city, click a street, I know what is the dia of the pipeline, material of the pipeline, when it was laid. So for the entire city we mapped. Then we created a KYC system. In banks, the know your customer thing. We also created one know your customer portal where all our customers are actually mapped. All our 11 lakh customers are mapped along with their billing history and everything for the entire state. Irrespective it is 24/7 or still some cities are intermittent, but still this asset mapping and customer mapping is finished. Now then we went to the DMA style designing. We did small modifications. As per the manual, even 1500 to 2000 households also we take as a particular DMA. And we had lot of existing elevated service reservoirs, so our zoning was there. But inside those DMA, we divided them into further sub DMAs for 400, 300, 500 connections also for ease of maintenance. Because if one portion of the we were first introducing this, so there was every chance of losing the trust of the customers, because everybody were doubting that you cannot provide 24/7. Unnecessarily this fiasco, this project, you have found out a new way of creating projects, all that was going on. So we had to first create the customer trust. So we made small one DMA also, we broken down them to 3-4 DMAs. So even in one street there is a problem, the other sub DMAs will be all right. That's the idea. So separate inlet for each DMA, and we never provided any interconnection between the DMAs. Previously our idea was that if some DMA has any issue, you can actually send water to the other DMA. We stopped all of that because ours was an old system. It was very difficult to identify. So we had to isolate and do a zero pressure test to find out that it is not connected everywhere. Now here, from at the inlet of the ESR, the elevated service reservoir installed the flow control valves, bulk meters, and before entry to every DMA and sub DMA also, we have installed the flow control valves, the solenoid valves we have installed. And that every sub DMA are flow control valve with solenoid and the isolation valve, bulk flow meter. They are all connected to a street level PLC, we call it, which is connected by optical fiber. So we are not depending on electricity all the time, because ours is a very cyclone prone state. Anytime the power may go off with cyclones. So we laid optical fiber along with our pipeline. Initially there was issue that we should go through internet, but internet, there can be a lag of 4-5 seconds and we cannot operate our valves or pumps. So we wanted real-time instruction, because it is not only monitoring system, it is command and control system also. I can give command on real-time basis. So this is the IoT system which I'll explain. Plus, when we go on a city level, suppose 2 DMAs or 3 DMAs I am going for 24/7, and 2 DMAs still I want to continue them for intermittent supply for some time. So we also had a separate automation system for them. Timeline, we have fixed time for those DMAs, and here 24/7. Now this is our IoT system where the all our critical points, the ESR inlet pressure, the ESR level, the DMA control valves, ESR outlet pressure, ESR outlet flow meter, the diesel generator set, all that is all connected, and we collect data every 5 seconds. So the real-time pressure and the flow data we get all the time. This is where this is a outlet of a DMA where our 5 sub-DMA lines are going. If you see, this is a flow meter, differential control, pressure control valve, and the pressure transducers are there. This is our ex-secretary Durga Shankar Misra, sir. He went to Puri. No, sir. And this is our street side. Now we have installed this street side monitoring. So for every street, for 40-50 households, we also collect the data, the flow data every 5 seconds. So we know that how much water has gone to that area. If in some street there is a continuous increase in the supply, then we check what is the issue. You see here, this backside curve is the light blue color is the average consumption pattern of that DMA or that sub DMA. So this red line is the pressure, the pink line is the pressure. If there is a pipe burst, the pressure drops, and this is my repair time, then the pressure goes up. So I know what is my repair time and when my pressure came back to normalcy. And this, if my consumption pattern, like for Puri, our peak hour is between 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. But for Bhubaneswar, the peak hour is 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So the consumption pattern for every city are different depending on it. So we have outlet based on the flow data we feed every 5 seconds. In 1 month time, 2 month time, our database is built. What is the consumption pattern of that particular DMA? In summer months, now we have summer, winter and rainy season demand pattern also. So this is the IoT system we built, and our pressure and flow are continuously monitored that they are in a equilibrium. Now this is the our DMA level inlet arrangement, which is all the valves and all that is there. This is our lane level sub DMA control center. This is the house connections. We have actually standardized all our house connections, because when we crossing the drains or we do a MDP pipeline with a curved connection, we eliminated all of them. With we give strong bends at the and how they should cross the drain, how they should be over the drain, all that is standardized in our house connection process, and we use the saddle and compression fittings. Now these are some of the instrumentation we use. The altitude pilot control valve in the inlet of the ESRs, which controls the flow to the ESR, and this is the online residual chlorine analyzer. In farthest end of our network, we have installed the residual chlorine analyzer, so we get residual chlorine data on real-time basis. Wherever the value goes below 0.2, automatic dosing happens until it becomes to now. Some of the house connections that we replaced where the leaking was the house connection leakage is very peculiar. Drop by drop it will leak, and for 2 months the over surface will not be wet, yet thousands of liters of water will go away. So we picked this spot and repaired. This is our lane level arrangement for every sub DMA. On the street side, we don't have to acquire any land or anything. Just with the permission of municipality, we install these systems. This is the pressure transducers that use. This is the DMA level residual chlorine doser, automatic doser. The moment my system gets a signal that it has become less than 0.2, then automatic dosing starts until it becomes 0.3 ppm. Now this is every sub DMA we have this. Because for one ESR there are 3 sub DMAs or 5 sub DMAs, how much flow, how much pressure, that every time I get the data on my mobile phone also. It is a mobile device, so in my mobile for any DMA, what is the residual chlorine level at the farthest end, what is the pressure currently now, and all that data can be right away I can see. And from this lane level flow meters, I get the non-revenue water data also real-time basis. I am not talking about the household level metering, that we do once in a month we collect the data, but from lane level up to lane level metering we get the data on a real-time basis. So what it has done, because now I am continuously monitoring the flow and pressure, so my repair time has come down because we are more alert, we don't spend time in identifying the spots. Then our resolution time, issue resolution time is actually reduced. And we have a command and control center, so from where we actually put our crews to the points. Now, this was a big issue which I'll spend 1 minute explaining it. Once we actually commissioned 24/7, we designed for 135 LPCD, for metros maybe 150 LPCD. Now the manual says 10% NRW, and we design it and give it. So from the very first day, if your non-revenue water is more than 10% or 15%, your water deficit, right? So in 1 month time, you think that 24/7 is not possible anymore. That's why what we did, we knew that we do not have enough water, because the moment you commission a particular DMA or a city, the demand goes up by almost double or 1.5 times. It takes almost 2 months by the time the customer behavior changes, your system is stabilized, to come back to normalcy. So we went DMA by DMA. We commission one DMA, stabilize it in a month's time, then we go to the next DMA. So with the total amount of water, we are able to provide 24/7 in a phased manner. And by the time we cover the entire city, that water is somewhat, because in the very first day, if I provide 100 MLD, then the demand will become 150 MLD. I will not have water, and the first day itself I will fail. So that's demand management is very critical. Interlinking of the DMAs, many cities in our learnings, people normally to avoid risk, they say interlink the DMAs. So if here is a problem, we can still share water from this DMA to that DMA. So that has to be avoided. For better control, sub-DMAs with smaller pockets are to be created. Leakage identification. We have institutionalized a non-revenue water cell. There are one executive engineer is heading with 2 assistant engineers and 4 junior engineers. Their job day in and day out is finding leakages and finding leakages. Plugging them is our job, but their job is only finding. That is, we have created a cell. Then the individual storage tanks is a big issue. In Puri, we have 33,000 connections. I'll tell you in 4 years' time, if you ask me today, we document it every day in and day out. 12,000 houses, 11,500 or 700 houses have only taken out their overhead and underground storages. So still, 21,000 households are still sucking our water when we supply. So they run their pump because they don't trust us yet. So getting the public trust is very time consuming. So in 3 years time, only 12,000 households in F city, let's say 30%, have become trustful and have removed their storage facilities. Because if they store, they have to pump water, then contamination happens, then my 24/7 actually is half failed there. If they pump and store, then there is no value of 24/7. So then stand posts, we have removed all public stand posts across the state in a phased manner because that's, and 100% metering. Tariffing, we have not done anything as yet because we waited for the providing good services for a considerable time before we acted on the tariff. So we have not acted upon it, but for demand management, we must work on the rationalizing the tariff as well and consumer behavior management. Now, how do we ensure quality? Because 24/7 water supplies, we've addressed the convenience, but the quality aspect, we have set up state-of-the-art laboratories which are NABL accredited. Almost 4 parameters in all critical points we measure on real-time basis. The residual chlorine analyzers at our network, they send us real-time data, and we also have also introduced, because we could not remove all tanks, we are now introducing a tank cleaning policy. So every 3 months, they will go put a sticker that this tank is cleaned. Then again after 3 months, we have to check, because if the contamination is in the tank, as a government, you cannot say it is not my fault, it is your fault. You cannot say that. We have to take the burden that, okay, our water was issue. So we have to ensure the tank cleaning as well. So now we are introducing the policy. Unless we remove all the tanks, this has to also be ensured by us. We cannot shift the blame to the consumer. Plus, like a regulatory, we have created just 1 year, 1.5 years back, we have created a regulatory like body called Water Quality Assurance Cell. In Odisha, we have PHEO, we have WATCO, independent of both of them at the government level, because if I am paying my laboratory person, I can create any report from them and say my water is always of good quality. So we have created a regulatory at the government level, which is Water Quality Assurance Cell, which is a completely independent entity. And all the laboratories and everything are directly reporting to them. They will not, they do not listen to us. So this is the Water Quality Assurance Cell we have created. The digital water management, I said, we collect data on every 5 seconds and the real-time flow and pressure management. This is I have already shown. We have a quick response team in 3 shifts. Whoever has gone to Puri have seen in 3 shifts we have a quick response team. Whenever we get a message of any complaint, they actually go there. They may not be able to repair it, but half of the grievance of the customer is down. In minor repairs, they do. They have a tool and all. And we have lab on wheel. Every city, we have got a lab on wheel which can measure up to 14 parameters. So for any incidence management, after we repair and proceed, resume supply, the lab on wheel goes and certifies that the water is good to go. Then we have a 24/7 customer care. It's IVRS based. Plus, from 9 to 6, we have around 17 people. They sit on the phone to receive calls. This is another thing we have done. We have gone into the community partnership model where the women self-help group, we have employed them to collect our bill, distribute bill, collect the revenue, and also facilitate grievance redressal. So it's a performance-led incentive. We do not pay them any salary. Whatever revenue they collect for us, we pay them 7.5% as a commission. Instead of paying a contractor and a billing contractor, we have taken the self-help, local self-help women from that own area. From that, every ward, there is a women self-help group. We have taken members as Jal Sathis. So they go to every house, 400 houses per Jal Sathi. They go to every house, read meters, generate bills on MPOS machine, collect the payment in a card. We have also given a 1 lakh rupee credit card to them because they cannot collect cash. So on the credit card, then the money they collect, they deposit in the credit card account. So this is women empowerment and also the doorstep connection doorstep services. their job is facilitating new connection. The 100% connection that I was talking about, they play a major role going house to house and motivating them, and they get 100 rupees per new connection. For regularizing unauthorized connection, they get 100 rupees. For doing a water quality test, they get 20 rupees. For reading meters and collecting bill, they get 7.5%. So every Jalsati almost is around 15,000 to 20,000 per month they earn. We have around 840 Jalsatis on board on all our 115 cities, and they earn around 15,000 to 20,000. Our billing and collection is largely dependent on them. We have a system where we provided them MPOS machines, so everything is online. Their incentive is also calculated automatically and goes to their account on 1st of every month. Now, to increase their revenue, we have also included property tax collection in their scope. So, if you see, the property tax collection and the water and sewerage charges collection has grown up significantly. Our water service collection efficiency is around 97% across the state. Now, the impact is we have 100% connection, 97% is my collection efficiency. Our timely complaint redressal, because when they go to collect money and the customer's complaint is not redressed, he will not pay. So the Jalsatis run after us to resolve their complaints of their area. So they facilitate, they push us to resolve the complaints. And non-revenue water also, because they collect, the collection has gone. And we have also placed digital display boards in all of our DMAs where we provide 24/7, because customer trust is very important. I can scream drink from tap, but nobody will drink from tap. So we have installed digital display boards where it gives the real-time water quality data and the flow and pressure in their area, because we were obsessed for good pressure from the beginning. So that's why we do them. And we also ran a Pure for Sure campaign. If you in Puri and Bhubaneswar, we did a study through NIUA, the National Institute of Urban Affairs. They did an independent impact assessment study. Around 88% in Puri were directly drinking from tap. Now, this is our non-revenue cell. Plus, we have also instituted a program for empaneling plumbers. Only trained and empanneled plumbers from our list can only go and do work in the water supply system. No other plumbers can come in to ensure good workmanship, and the non-revenue water cell. Now, I am coming to an end, ma'am, just 2-3 minutes. 24/7, I can do survey, the hydraulic design, the GIS mapping, infrastructure construction, and simple O&M, I can say this is 24/7. But to make it drink from tap, I have to look at the O&M and the management aspect, which is the digital water management. I must ensure quality at consumer end, not at my WTP or the reservoir end, at the consumer household. Then the NRW must be reduced, so it has to be institutionalized. Only on paper will not do. The grievance redressal, all of them may seem to be the softer components of it, but these are equally important, let me tell you. If we just govern a contractor engineer project, then the success rate is very low unless we bring all of this onto the table, which I have explained to you. Now, the bottom line, if you see in 2014, when all this thinking process came to our head, the jaundice cases were 3,608 and 29 deaths. The diarrheas, this is health department data, it is not my data, it is a public health disease surveillance data of Odisha. So if you see the diarrhea cases, 3,858 and 30 deaths, that's when we sat together and formed our water policy. Now you see today it's 2022 data, around 29 sporadic cases but 0 deaths. In last 3-4 years, the moment we started giving water through pipe, the number of deaths and diseases started decreasing. Now this is the case studies published by CPHEO. We have also created Odisha Water Academy, where we train people, around 4,000 people from different states have already been trained. Now it is replicable or scalable. If we tell you our story, we started from 2019 from 471 households, moved to 8 pilot zones with 1.85 lakh population, then the first city Puri, second Gopalpur, now we are at 24 cities with 40 lakh population. So very much replicable, very much scalable, but we need to pilot pilot and scale that process. This sub-pilot, pilot, scaling, community partnership is key, which we feel, and team building and own staff, right, sir. The own staff and contractors, the contractors need to be trained, like sir said, around 3,000 contractors are working. They need to be trained, and the capacity building. And we also, the government of, in the first G2G collaboration, the government of Tamil Nadu engaged Watco as the project management consultant to provide 24/7 water supply in Chennai city. So we are doing, the design DPR is finished, now the tendering process is on. So beyond our scope, we are now providing services to Tamil Nadu government to implementing from tap in Chennai city also. Now this is the path followed, sir. We have not directly jumped to drink from tap or 24/7. First step was our mission mode approach. We named as drink from tap mission. Then the policy measures, we first worked on the policy, enabling policy measures, infrastructure drive, we addressed the infrastructure issues. Then the building of local contractors and local team, our own engineers were trained. Institutional reform, we created the corporate entity Watco, then we moved to community partnership, then universal coverage, 100% metering, then 24/7 drink from tap, then the non-revenue water reduced and revenue collection increased. So in a stepwise manner we followed this path, and this is our story. The key takeaway is, it is not a purely engineering subject, it must be dealt as a socio-engineering endeavor. Second, the technology adaptation is equally important, but we must not forget the community angle of it. If we just run after the technology, it's okay, it will function. But if I do not take the community along, I'll tell you, 5 years back, I had a completely different mindset. When our secretaries and all said community, I said, what they will do in such a technical subject. But now my perspective is changed after working on this. This is very important. And then 5 years back, when we had a meeting of lack of water supply, everybody proposed new WTP, new project. But now we only think what is available water, how can we, so distribution management also should be prioritized, then creating big assets. If I reduce my NRW by 20%, then actually I can feed, I'll tell you, we were producing 40 MLD water in Puri for providing 2.5 lakh population drinking water. 47% were actually wastages, and my connection was 30%. So we are providing 40%, 40 MLD water to 30% households. We have not increased the WTP capacity. We are still producing 40 MLD water. Now we are providing same water to 33,000 connections. So that's the difference if we manage the distribution potently. So that's it, sir. 24/7 drink from tap will lead to economic and social betterment. So thank you very much. I will be available for any questions.
It's so very difficult to stop Chinmay sir, because every time I see this presentation, I learn so many new things. So fantastic, sir. Thank you very much. Now it's open for questions. Anyone who would like to ask questions, you can lift hands for Mr. Bhatvi. Everybody has to ask? Okay. Can I have some volunteers to... I also request whoever are asking questions, please introduce yourself and your organization and ask the question, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to ask the question now. My question is little bit complex. First of all, let me introduce myself. Dr. Pankaj Kumar Sampad. Right now I am representing ISAC as a postdoctoral research fellow on water. I am just much appraised looking Chinmay at your presentation after a couple of years. You presented in one of the conferences organized by us.
Yes.
So my question, let me come to the question. Madam highlighted about Hubli, Dharwad and so many things which is 15 years back story. Malkapur 10 years plus. After that I listened and first time observed this Odisha success story in India. Amrut 2.0 is about to finish. In India we have 28 states plus union territories. Right, so Odisha won. My question to Ramakant sir is that what is our plan to achieve our targets of Amrut 2.0 for this 24/7 in 28 states of India? How we can do this?
How you have to speak? How can I understand? How can we just speaking by this
Simple.
Chinmay, na? Chinmay is there to how to achieve this one. But I can only say that what we have done under number 2, actually under the water supply scheme, we have taken the entire country as a all number of cities. Out of that, we have got the information from the state that about 363 projects, cities cover 24 by 7 water supply system at the cost of about 23,000 crores. So that is our achievement. How it can be done? Chinmay is here.
So, in my view, only just with my more than 35 years of water sector experience, we need 1 plus 27 more Chinmay. Very simple answer. To take it scale up in India, we need 1 plus 27. Simple answer.
1 plus 27 what?
Chinmay.
Not Chinmay. There are so many. See, Pune
Sir.
is doing, Nagpur is doing,
Right,
Coimbatore
right,
is
sir.
doing. There are so many cities they are
Sir.
working on that.
Sir, I'll try to answer your question, sir. To achieve this, speed and scale is needed. I mean, if we go slow, then slowly it will die down. We have from one pilot zone, now we have gone to 24. Why? First thing, there should be a political will. And from at every level, at this country level also, the political will is very clear because you see how ministry is also pushing it. Secondly, the administrative willpower. So the administrators in the state, I mean, no matter how much the engineer wants to do, the administrator also has to function. Now, ASCII is trying to organize an administrative level capacity building also. Then comes the engineer and the ground level people who, if they are educated and build their capacity, then these are very possible, sir. This 24/7 back in 2010-5 also, whatever design we did, it was 24/7. We never looked at in this manner. Now that I think it is possible. Only the will has to be there to scale it up. That's it. And nothing rocket science.
One more thing.
Simple, I understand. Because I was involved in Hubli Dharwad also. I know the stories of all these cities. I was ex-ASCII. I know all this background story. But his answer is very humble and simple, sir. But actually, what we are facing, this is my experience, that it is not that easy. Only political will or nothing, one simple thing can turn our countries, our nation into 24/7. Very complicated. Sitting, maybe right now public answer may be difficult for you, but achieving Amrut 2.0 standards nationwide is a big challenge before us.
Sir.
What we are doing, we are trying to connect the city with the cities. Now we are, with the help of the ASCII, we invited about 25-30 people from 5-6 states, and we are sending to the Odisha.
Yes, sir.
Giving training to them. So what we can do, we are doing. We can only give the training, we can give the fund. We cannot go into the subject of the state. It's basically state subject. So we cannot go and direct them in आपको करना ही पड़ेगा. तो डंडा तो हम नहीं मार सकते. करना तो उन्हीं को है.
Sir.
So we can only provide the facility.
Any-
वो हम कर रहे हैं.
Sir, it's a
Thank you.
combined effort of every stakeholder who's involved in this process, sir. I think some
Next
time
question.
back we were not even talking about Puria, not even talking about any of these case studies. But we are talking about the scale. 24 is a scale. So I'm sure we will reach. When I was in South Africa in 2000, I think 2002, everywhere people were using mobiles. I thought like, what African country is using and then we are not doing it. I don't know how many years it will take. But it just took 2-3 years. We all had mobiles. I'm sure this revolution also will take it forward. But a combined joint effort of everyone is required in this process. As yourself were saying, it's a complex process. But a coordinated efforts of all the stakeholders, like who are all sitting here, we will take forward this mission, I am sure. Maybe we will take a little bit more time, but we will achieve it. Thank you. Who's the next one? Please. Yes. 2 and then you. Then. Yes.
Hello.
Please be
Sir.
specific with your question.
Good evening, sir. I am G. Sucharan, Executive Engineer from Telangana, Varangal.
Sir.
First of all, I congratulate, sir, you for achieving 24 cities, 24/7. Sir, can you please explain this automatic dosing of chlorine in brief? Because residual chlorine is a main problem in major municipalities. Till tail end, it is not available.
Right.
Yeah. Around 4 to 5 kilometers from GLSR to ELSRs to the households, and from ELSR to households. First from source to ELSR, from ELSR to households. You please, automatic dosing system, where to install and how it works.
Yeah.
That,
Any?
yeah.
This is one question, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other question is, providing bulk meters and flow control valves, is it economical? Because economics play a vital role in our country. And as sir told that is this possible or this possible. First of all, public self-defense, self-discipline is important. Public awareness. Self-discipline is important, because if water is free, we will waste water. First of all, self-discipline should be maintained. You please explain this.
Sir, two questions you've asked and I'll answer, sir. For the residual chlorine, normally when the WTP, when the water treatment plant, you give chlorine, so literally for until your elevated service reservoir, the residual chlorine doesn't drop much because it's pumping transmission main. The moment it gets stored, the residual chlorine dips if there is contamination. What is residual chlorine, sir? After consumption of all organic things, the residual chlorine, whatever is remaining is the residual chlorine. So from the elevated service reservoir, we have installed this online analyzers at the farthest end of the network. In one DMA, we have installed one, or if it's a big DMA, we have installed two at the farthest end. So if at the farthest end my residual chlorine is 0.2 ppm, then I am okay. If it drops below, then there must be a leak or some contamination is happening. That's why it is eating up the chlorine. So I have to corroborate whether there is any pressure drop is there, or it is a slow contamination is happening already. The pipe is already contaminated. So I have got a doser at my DMA level, which gives dosing automatically after the PLC gets a signal. Then until it becomes 0.3 or 0.25. But the story doesn't end there. If the contamination is there, again the chlorine level will drop. So I have to fix the leakages, fix the contamination issues. It is only an indicator to show that your chlorine is getting consumed en route. It means in the distribution system, there is a contamination or leakage. These are very simple systems. Now, because this was pricey, I mean, for one system, we spent around 3.5 to 4 lakh rupees in one DMA. So now we economized. Once your system is fully operated in 3-4 months time, 5 months time, it's 24/7 is sustained, then the contamination will never happen. So this chlorine level never goes down. From our 50 DMAs, maybe in 1 or 2 instances it may go down. All others, it becomes stable. So what we have done, we have now created I have shown you a stationary tank, Syntex tank chlorine dosing. Now we have a mobile chlorine doser in a vehicle. Of course, if I dose the chlorine also, by the time at the tail end it becomes 0.2, it takes 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And in that time also somebody may drink contaminated water. That is there. But still I am constantly seeing and improving it at around 30-minute time.
Where do you apply the dosing?
In the pipeline, sir.
Pipeline at which location?
In the DMA. In the DMA, bottom of the the beginning of the DMA. Right, entry of the DMA. No, there is a machine, sir. I will show you. Right, sir. Right. So the dosing has to be such that it slowly, because if I super chlorinate it, then our initial houses will have 3 ppm or 2 ppm like that. Then the people will not drink the water because of the smell. So whenever there is a chlorine drop at the end, I have to see what is my culprit point, where actually it is dropping. So we have also started doing the residual chlorine modeling. Right. So that is the only point, sir. I have to identify what is my potential contamination point. Dosing chlorine is not the solution. Right. Hypochlorine.
That's the difference in the gas chlorine. That is my idea.
No. Here you have to use the hypochlorine, sir. This
chlorine concentration? Like, since you have the
Sir.
experience of working in so many DMAs.
Sir, no, sir. In the WTP, water treatment plant, sometimes it is up to 3 ppm also if I'm drawing water from 15 kilometers or more. At the WTP level, we keep it at 2.53 ppm also. But when from my reservoir level, when it comes to my elevated service reservoir, it is 1.5 sometimes, and my DMA sizes are small, so it doesn't disintegrate. Sir, if you, we have, sir, in the manual, if you see there is operational zone, then there are DMAs. I'll tell you, sir. I'm coming to this one. In the manual, there is operational zone, which may be of 5,000, 10,000 households. Then there are DMAs 2,000, 2,000, 2,500 like that. We have DMAs starting from 500 households to 3,000 also. But most of our DMAs, which we call sub-DMA, operation zone and DMA, we call DMA and sub-DMA. So our sub-DMAs are 500 to 600 households connections, which has around 10 to 12 lane level control points. So if any lane also, if I am spending more water than required, I can know if there are 5 marriages going on, or there is a Ganesh Puja pandal is there, or some thing is going on. I am at least aware of it, and I leave it for 1 or 2 days. Okay, this spending will be there. If still the usage is more, I can focus on that lane and fix it. That's why we have installed the lane level meters. Sub-DMA level, we have got the control valves. 400, 500 households. Right, sir. See, that is a very, depends, sir.
Depend upon the number of households.
Depends, sir. Yes. Even if it is concentrated, the connections are more. Sir, water supply system is full of holes and joints. So if in a concentrated area also I have more holes in the system to feed, for house connections, so we take 400, 500, 600 households as a sub-DMA. Sometimes it's a very big area and topographically it's an issue. For 250 households also we have got a DMA. Like this 471 household slum that I've shown you, it is on a hilltop. We took that as DMA. Suppose from a hilltop, we have undulation issues also, sir. From a hilltop I am supplying water. Now with one header it going, but at the end point or at the foothill of the hilltop, the pressure will not be there. The water will gush down to the bottom. So at the foothill, I took another discharge pipeline from the ESR and make it a different sub-DMA, and I monitor. You're getting my point? So that way it has to be very site specific.
Yours one question and then...
No, but sir, this DMA level chlorination, I'll show you. This is a very cheap system, sir. Very cheap. Very cheap. For 3-4 DMAs you can... Sir, okay. Very important question, sir.
That question I'm going to ask in my...
Sir.
I have 2 questions in this regard. So you have outed the capital cost, whatever capital cost is
Sir.
coming. So I believe you said that, okay, metering and 24/7 water supply is not happening in one day. I seen a gap period, say your project is completed by X year, say 2019. So till you get the revenue, you have taken a pain of at least 2 years.
I'll tell you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
So this 2 years term, how the project is
Understood.
sustainable?
I got your
the-
point, sir.
by that time, contractor has completed his job, he left his job, and now you say that the volumetric tariff policy also, you have not said that how much volumetric tariff will
Sir.
be, how much household have to pay. So how all the money is coming? So this is because I'm
I got your
Montevora.
question, sir.
Yeah,
I got your
I'm
question.
Montevora,
Sir, you have the same question, I think, sir. I'll tell you, sir, in Odisha, operating cost recovery. First of all, I have to answer one question, whether the operation cost has gone up between our intermittent time and 24/7 time. I'll tell you, sir, our budget has almost same or little bit reduced at locations. Because maybe some energy cost has increased, but manpower cost decreased, or chemical dosing is decreased, because it is now automatically monitored. So the operation cost has not gone up. And our revenue collection, which was previously 50 to 55% efficiency, I said we have not touched upon the tariff. We were very patient because unless we provide good services, people will resent in providing big tariff, because people had a mindset that these people are giving 24/7 metering, lot of money, billing will be there. So we told them, no, billing wise, don't worry. It is only we are installing a CCTV camera just to see your usage, nothing else. The mechanical meter that we are installing, sir, it is like a CCTV camera. If somebody is watching, my consumption behavior will little bit change. So from 55% collection efficiency, now our collection efficiency is 97, 96%. So, but my operating cost recovery is only 38%. I am not able to recover I will not lie, sir. I cannot recover the full O&M cost. Now, our philosophy is, if providing water, I consider recovering cost, what about laying roads, what about providing Wi-Fi on the smart cities? So that is a different scale of debate. When the water is so basic necessity, 4,000 of my people are going into diarrhea, jaundice and 29, 30 deaths. Whether I should consider of the recovery, or is it my job to provide water as a basic services? That is...
That means state is taking care of funding
yes.
those parts.
So the subsidy has to be considered, sir. I am recovering 38%. Now if I elevate the tariff, maybe it will go to 50, 55, but still. Sir,
what is the line pressure that you are maintaining?
Sir?
The line pressure you are
Okay,
maintaining?
sir. That is also a good question, sir. Sir, in all our cities, like I said, we are not very urbanized. In Bhubaneswar, we maintain 21 meter pressure, 17 meter pressure at some locations. Sir? Residual head, sir. Yes, residual head. But in some locations, some DMAs, where it is only a slum and only single-storied houses are there, we are maintaining 7 meter, 6 meter as per the requirement. Because unnecessarily, why I should pressurize my pipeline, sir? And we have also fixed pressure set points. I have not gotten chance to show it. Pressure set points. At the peak hour, our pressure set point is that it should give 17 to 21 meter pressure in Bhubaneswar. But in the night time, we reduce that to 6 to 7 meter. Maybe we will ask night time, somebody will open tap, how we will get water in third floor? Because we discourage them not to have any tanks. Our performance is monitored, how many tanks have been removed. In all our review meetings, our question is, how many tanks is removed in your DMA? We say 5, 6 tanks only are added every week. Like for 33,000, 12,000 tanks are only removed in Puri in 3 years' time. So, but in night time, sir, depending on the consumption, we reduce the pressure, because we have to make a balance. If I keep the line pressure in the night also, the leakages will be more, and ultimately the NRW value. So we have to create a balance. But sir, I will request, sir, in the Puri visit, if some people can also join in from some, so we can show.
Yeah. Sir, our state is not.
We have 5 seconds we get the data, sir. Every 5 seconds we get the data from our pressure transmitter. Previously the idea was, why 5 seconds? Why not 15 minutes? That kind of question was there. Sir, any other? Sir?
Yeah, just.
I think one question
myself
there, sir.
from.
Sir, cost
hello?
recovery, no, sir? Yeah, tariff, cost
Sir.
recovery, he was saying.
सर हमारा रेट है पर किलोलीटर 5 रुपये 94 पैसे. हर साल हमारा 3 साल में 5% बढ़ता है. मेरा इंस्टीट्यूशनल टैरिफ है 13 रुपये 40 पैसे और कमर्शियल है 19 रुपये 60 पैसे. इतना ही है सर. सर 5 रुपये 94 पैसे, सर 5 रुपये 40 पैसे था. अभी 6 साल में 3 साल में 5% बढ़ता है. ऐसे होगा अभी 5 रुपये 94 पैसा है, या अभी शायद जुलाई में 6 रुपये 19 पैसा हुआ होगा. सर हम तो अपना बिजनेस प्लान उसी हिसाब से बना के.
Sir, I think, sir, please, sir.
Hello.
Sir, that is also a very important question, sir. I'll tell you, in some cities, we laid almost, like I said, sir, we had only 40% coverage. So 60% networks are fairly new. So in many of our cities, our level of replacement has not gone beyond 20%.
So how do you manage this, sir? New system, no, sir?
Sir, existing, I'm telling you, no, sir. I'm giving you the answer, sir. Because most of my pipeline are new. Why should I replace, sir? If I give an EPC contract and ask the contractor to evaluate, he will say 80% replacement I need.
The entire thing.
No, sir.
yes.
Not true, sir. Not true. See, sir. Sir, it is if you, the moment you put the condition assessment on the contractor and ask him to identify, because this is a fancy that the contractor must take all risk of providing less than 10% NRW, providing 100% collection. So every risk is on him. So he doesn't have time to study your system. So he gives 80% replacement, 85% replacement, 90% replacement. In our case, we were put on the spot. You evaluate. Now I have constructed that system 3 years back. How can I say 50% replacement I need? So I will study only the replacement for isolation of DMA. We needed to put more line. Some places there are old PVC pipelines we have completely replaced. Those kind of we have replaced. DI, sir. Sir.
Sir, please, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir. I am from Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation.
Sir.
I wanted to ask whether this can be implemented in metro cities. If the growth is so high, the buildings are high-rise buildings, 30, 40 stories.
Sir.
Big societies are coming up. So how can we implement in this position? What could
Sir,
be the size you provide?
I'll tell you, sir. No, you are asking about the pipes.
Living standard is also so high. They are having 3-4 toilets in their each flat.
So the usage pattern you are saying, the demand.
So can we implement
Sir,
24/7?
Sir, anyway, for the cities with less than 1 lakh population, it is 135, but for metro cities, we take 150. Somewhere, Chennai, we are planning around 186, 200 LPCD also, because depending on your availability of water, you can keep a little high demand, because otherwise, sir, from the very beginning, with 15-20% NRW, the water's deficit will start, and we cannot provide 24/7 water. So we have to keep the design time only. We have to keep the demand level little high. Now your question is, sir, in Delhi also, in Vasant Vihar area or Malviya Nagar area, big kotis were there. People were using 1000 LPCD. Now for that, unfortunately, I do not have an answer, sir. If all my houses, we went to Rajasthan in Ganga Nagar or some city, they said one colony, they are very water possessive people. They use 350 LPCD per day. Now, we can do, sir? We have to educate them, or we have to rationing of water. Now, Coimbatore has come with a wonderful model of limiting the supply.
Yeah, solenoid walls, no, I think.
Limiting the supply, if the quota is 675 liters for this household, after the 675 liters, at the street level, the valve is closed. But in our philosophy is little different, because we wanted 24/7 supply. If I go to pumping, storing and using, then this is okay. So the rationing wise, this is a good system. I provide what is needed. But 24/7 is its convenience and quality also, because any time I cannot keep my wife pipe empty.
I think that shows now. Sir has reached the point. He has reached a point now.
Who has designed your system, sir?
Sorry.
Who has designed your system?
Sir, it is all
technical head.
This is another thing, sir. We have not hired any external consultant. It is all internal. People got trained from various sites initially for 2 months, 6 months. Our Puri, the planning took 14 months. Implementation was only 9 months. So this 14 months time, our training, planning, lot of brainstorming, it took time. But if you come to Odisha, sir, you talk to one of my assistant manager, we call, the assistant manager is in charge of a DMA. He's a JE. We call him the chief minister of that DMA. He can take all decisions of that DMA. So the assistant manager can also talk about pressure, differential pressure, how if the pressure is, how the valve operates, all that thing he can also explain. So the knowledge level is percolated. Initially there was resentment on technicality, training and all that was issue. But we have not hired a full-time consulting team to help us as yet. Maybe for big projects we have to take in, but it's all in-house grown.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
बहुत मुश्किल होता है इनको मना करने में, because he keeps on talking and giving such a good information.
Sir.
Big round of applause for Odisha, for the 24 cities, and for teaching us the lessons from there. At this juncture, As sir said, sir was mentioning about the Coimbatore. Now let me invite Mr. Gopal Krishna sir from Coimbatore to share the experiences of Coimbatore. Again, a small request from my side, sir, in the interest of the time, whichever have been covered extensively by Orissa, please you can reduce that and then share the experiences exclusive of Coimbatore. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And then everyone, for your interest, I am going to tell you that after this presentation, we have a panel discussion from interesting participants, some of the participants who will be there sitting on the dais to do the panel discussion. Please stay tuned. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. As usual, I am the last speaker and my time is restricted. It's happening for the past 4 years. Okay, I'll just, because most of the initial 4 slides already covered by Dr. Snega. Definition of a potable water is safe, clean, adequate and convenience economically. I'll just skip all these things for want of time. Coimbatore has an area of 254 square kilometer with a population of 1.45 million, but we are covering old Coimbatore area. Coimbatore city was expanded in the year 2011. Pre-2011 area is covered under this project, covering about 100 square kilometer. We get water from Sirvani and river Bhavani. One special thing about Sirvani, which every time I mention, is cloud to lip, it is by gravity. No pumping anywhere. And this is taken up under PPP mode, public-private participation, but not privatized. There is private investment, but the ownership of the project and the entire control remains with the authority. Total responsibility for design, construction and maintenance is left with the concessionaire. Cost of the project is, EPC cost is 646.7 crores and O&M cost is 2,300 for 21 years. Project involved first 1 year design period, 4 year for construction, but now it is extended. We are in the 5th year, and 21 years for O&M. In the PPP model, during the construction period, the concessionaire is paid only 80% of his investment. 20% is retained for the is released during the O&M period. We follow staggered annuity model of payment, in which fund flow both for the authority and receipt by the concession is predefined. It forms part of the contract. Concessional scope includes design, complete design risk, tariff is by the authority, meter reading, billing, collection is also in the concessional scope, but collection is directly deposited in the authority's account. Contractor is paid as per his bid code. And KPI includes water quality, pressurized continuous supply, all those things. I will just skip. And right now, we at 97 DMAs. Out of 97 DMAs, it's mentioned 21. Yesterday we commissioned 2 more. 23 DMAs with 26,000 connections are right now getting pressurized continuous water supply. And 40 DMAs with about 44,000 connections are getting new pipeline system has been commissioned, but converting to 24/7 is in the process. We are in the commissioning phase. I just show you a short video link. Sorry. Can you start the video? Click on the video. Yeah. Okay. Huh? Okay, just I'll skip. But that we collected GIS map from National Remote Sensing Agency, Hyderabad. On the all the properties were identified and given a specific numbers, and design was done using WaterGem software. GIS data included population, building parcels, elevation, contour data, everything. It was validated. The design actually, as per the contract model, minimum 7 meters head at the ferrule point is required. But if the design nearly 15% of the project area has that 7 meter to 10 meter head, and more nearly 86% has more than 10%, 10 meter head in the system. These are all some of the innovations we have made. Online monitoring of intermittent supply, we have developed our own app for this. And each DMA, under the each over tank command area, the walls, at present it is intermittent supply. If you open one wall, some 50 houses or 200 houses may get water. They were all documented and updated in the master data. So it is not automatic, it is not automation. A mobile app is developed. Every time a valve is operated, the site engineer, he updates in this mobile. So we get information which are all the houses getting water at that moment. So it goes on changing. 8,900 houses, 9,100 houses getting. It is online, directly available. Then also water quality monitoring system also we have developed. Again, it is not automated because unlike Puri where they went in for fiber optic cables, we are going in for that GSM based system which is not reliable and things. So we are not automated manually. With the mobile app, we have identified 12 critical locations in each DMA where sampling has to be done. And we have engaged separate samplers who are guided to take samples from different supply areas. At the field, on site, they make entry in their mobile app. So it is available on the screen. Wherever there is issue, corrective action is taken. And also we have our own laboratory. While only residual chlorine is updated on site, the sample is sent to the lab and tested. Actually, as per the contract condition, 100 quarter samples per quarter per DMA has to be tested. So that is every day it is tested in the lab, and at the end of the day it is updated in the system, quality monitoring system. And SCADA, yes, we have, it's in the commissioning phase. We are monitoring level to water level, pressure, flow, and other things. We used this robotic camera developed by a Madras IIT startup, Solinas. And we are using it for identifying the contamination locations. That's a camera which goes inside the pipe and examines wherever there is for inflow, external water getting in, we are identifying, we are rectifying it. Invisible leak detection, yes, we are using acoustic method. Leak detector is taken along the ground and identified leaks are rectified. Again, meter reading. We developed our own meter reading. We have not used IMR. We are using mechanical multi-jet water meters, but meter is read through with our meter reading app. All the house service connections are geotagged. With GIS survey, we are geotagged, and each meter reader is assigned a location where he has to start. When he goes to the site, at the site, he is guided for the subsequent meter locations. So every day, depending upon the area, he may read 100 meters or more or less. When he at the site, he can in his mobile, all these data appears. The GIS ID, HSC number, name, previous reading, things. He makes entry of only current meter reading, takes a photograph of the meter and uploads on the cloud immediately. At the back end, meter bills are created. Again, at the back end, the reading is validated, whether it is tallies with the photograph and the reading is tallies, and wherever, and also it compares the consumption pattern. If suppose in a particular month, consumption is very high or very low, or it differs huge between the adjacent houses, then a second level check is done. The supervisor goes to the site and also takes a reading. So our collection performance has improved. This is the latest thing. We have installed anytime payment machine. In this machine, all the taxes for the corporation, including property tax, water tax, whatever it may be, can be paid by cash, credit, debit cards, or UPI. It's available 24 hours, anytime thing. And our online collection percentage is increasing from about 17% 3 years back to around 34% now. And we have installed customer facility centers. LPCD consumption. There was a talk about whether water is available or not. In our experience, intermittent supply requires more water. When we supply continuous supply, pressurized supply, our consumption varies from 70 LPCD to 120 LPCD in the commissioned areas. This is the data on that. And NRW is also ranges from about 17, around less than 20%. Will this video run? That picture is video. Can you click on the photo? No. Our system dispensing with the underground tank and the overhead tank. Water reaches the tank or the rooftops about the 3rd floor. And we are gradually in the process of canvassing our consumers to dispense with the UGD, underground tank or the overhead tank. He is a retired assistant commissioner of Employee Provident Fund. This is his house. Water reaches without pumping. The project challenges, yes, there was resistance because of the PPP mode. Everybody thought it was privatized, so there was huge objection, and even our laborers were attacked. Physical assault took place when we started the work. But we gradually overcome with awareness programs and also. And these are all common to any project, not necessarily 24/7. Coordination with the line department, land availability, all those things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Any questions to Coimbatore? Yes, you can start with your. No. No. I think since some people are getting just prepared, we will give a chance to you.
Sir, just I have not gone through your full presentation, but I noticed that you are promoting the meter reading through meter readers. Why we are not accepting the meter reading submitted by the customer themselves? If it is within the range or if the customer data is matches with your DMA, there is no need to send the meter readers for all this.
Yes, sir. We probably we may export that option later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, Mr. Tripathi was telling, in Coimbatore,
you have such system कि if some area has consumption requirement of 500 liters actually, so if that quantity is supplied, then automatically valve is closed. So why if somebody has drawn more water and others have not drawn the required quantity, then he will not get the water? That is a different project. I said in Coimbatore city, only in the core area, old city area we are implementing. In the added area, as a Department of Science and Technology program, PhD College of Technology, they made a study, they introduced the system in which water is rationed. But basically, by principle, 24/7 should be demand based. But what they are doing is supply based. Under this system, each house is to be supplied with 650 liters, and they have installed solenoid valves. Once the 650 liters he can consume in 24 hours time. At 12 midnight, the 650 liters lapses. Next day, the balance 650 only, new 650 only, once the consumption exceeds the cross of 650, valve is closed. That is not a 24/7 system. Okay. So who operate that valve that time? Your staff? It's automatic. It's automatic. Automatic. Okay. Solenoid valves.
Okay, please. I think last benchers, no questions.
Sir, I believe this is again a different tax of water supply, like from the government owned to the private owned. So you have given an annuity. You have given an annuity. You have given a 20% what the government share. It may be come in from grant to the whatever the operator or whatever the contractor. And apart from 20%, I believe the government of India grant. What the other grant available to the project? No, like the capital cost, we have shown that 20% is a government share, and private part is investing all the money. Funding. Well, how he is going to, because I have seen the annuity is very less at 3.7 crores is going up. How he is going to recover his cost? Because it's a big plant. And water supply is not like the power sector or not the petroleum sector. So I'm not understanding the reason why the contractor is putting his money. That is at least the recovery cost. Okay, recovery cost maybe 20 years, and because his other costs also there, and tariff structure is not very clear there. Tariff structure, how is going? What is the tariff structure? Sorry.
It is only a deferred payment. Concessionaire is investing during construction period, but the amount is released during the O&M period. It is not withheld money. 20% of the cost of the project is retained and released during O&M period to ensure the quality of work. Concessionaire is investing 20% or 25 years. 20% is released during the O&M period. It's only detention money.
Hello, sir. So what is the current water tariff?
Current water tariff for domestic, 100 rupees minimum up to a consumption of 15,000 liters. From 15,000 to 20,000, it is 8 rupees. And it is a telescopic tariff. So, it varies from domestic and non-domestic, bulk, non-domestic bulk and all those things. One advantage with Coimbatore city is 100% metered since 90s. And we are following telescopic tariff system since 90s. So people, public are used to pay as per the metered consumption.
Sir, the deferred payment is also linked with some KPI?
No, payment is linked to KPIs, O&M payment, everything. Yes, it's all pre-fixed. In the bid document itself, what is the percentage it will be paid after 4th year, 5th year, 6th year, according to the things. Not linked.
Okay, any other questions? Please.
Hello, sir. I'm from Sikkim. So whatever we see here, sir, it's completely different, you know. Like you all follow this lateral pattern and you all have to maintain the elevation and every that. For us, it is not like that. We have like, you know, we can't control the elevation. We can't control the flow of the water because our RL head difference is very high, you know, and everything is gravity. We have still not adopted pumping or anything because everything is gravity, and we are still with you know, a chamber system where we get a water from our clear reservoir from to the chamber point where there is like 20 25 plus household or 200 household, then we have a particular chambers there. So it is very difficult for us, you know, when you say 24/7. Obviously Amrut is trying to do that in our state also, but we are still in like Amrut
Hydraulic modeling takes into account size of the pipes and all to maintain fairly uniform pressure. It is done by the modeling water gem software we use. For your information, Coimbatore city has a topography varying from 500 meters above mean sea level to 250 above mean sea level.
Okay.
Within a DMA, the difference is as high as 10 meters.
Okay, so
Right.
but like you all have lateral connections, na sir, laterals. You know, there is one pipe, big pipe running, and you have laterals. We can't achieve that.
No, that's okay.
Not lateral, it's a tree system. It's grid system.
Grid, yeah, that's what grid system, but we can't achieve that, sir. We have tried with one, and what happens, like sir said, the whole of the water pressure goes till the end.
Right.
You know, and you don't have the water pressure. We can't maintain
Whenever
that pressure.
there is a deep drop, 90 meters, 100 meters head is needed.
It's more than that
If you have
sometimes.
tanks in between, that's a pressure break tank kind.
We
also,
need to
what we
apply
do,
that.
if we have couple of cities where the head difference is more than 90 meters, 100 meters in a 20 square kilometer city.
Okay.
So what we do, if we have normally the elevated service reservoir at the hilltop,
Okay.
when the water comes, then the pressure is more and the foothill of the people do not get water. So one solution is we lay a separate transmission to there, separate distribution line there. Secondly, what we do, we bring the water to another reservoir. We treat that as a pressure break pressure tank.
We have that, sir.
You
We
have
follow that. Otherwise, our pipe will burst.
So you can very well do what is the problem? Hmm. Yeah. PRV, if
That is what we are just.
because
I just heard about it right now.
the solenoid valves,
Yeah.
which works on differential pressure. So if you define the pressure, if with a particular differential pressure, it will open and close to that extent to maintain that differential pressure. So you can use those.
So what about the pipes which are using for household connections? The pipes for household connections.
Household from
You are
the
going
distribution
with,
line, the house connections
yeah,
must be
that
going
is
for a
GI,
ferrule connection.
GI connection or
For the bends, you have to go for a little bit sturdy bend. But HDP, MDP also.
we are still into GI. We can't do with HDP pipes. But we can't go with HDP pipe right now because of our terrain, so we can't go. We have to cross the roads. उसके ऊपर से वो गाड़ी चलता है
No,
तो HDP pipe काम नहीं
HDP
करता
can
है.
easily, instead of GA, you can use HDP. It can take pressure.
Proper cover is given. 90 mm cover is given. 1 meter cover is given.
Okay.
Pipe will not break.
So we have to, still now people are into GI only, so we train them for, okay, we educate them for HDP pipe. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Also in bends, we use GI because study beds, when the grade crossing is there, MDP, HDP pipes, they should not go like a arrow or bow. We use a bend and then.
We use electrofusion bends.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Yeah, please go ahead if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I said we are in the commissioning phase. We are gradually weaning away the consumers from dispensing with the tanks. Once the tank is full, because it is a metered consumption, he himself will close the tap.
Sir, this is a very big initial question. Everybody 24/7. This is the main doubt it comes. But 24/7 for every household to maintain a pumping system, a storage tank, all that cost around 50,000 capital cost. But there is a monthly operation maintenance cost. But plus there is a time sensitivity that I must switch on the pump or whatever because it comes to the head. So slowly in 6 months to 1 year time when the customer is satisfied that now the system they can provide 24/7, ultimately they do not pump or they don't like to store. Now the question you ask that how do you control the flow of water? To be truthful, we do not control the flow of water to any house. If we control, then it's not 24/7. You are breaking the inconvenience. You design the system for 135 liters. Someday I may use 170. You should allow me to use that 170. Na? Tomorrow I may use 120. So the 135 or 150, whatever is an average consumption. It's not a very, that cannot be sacrosanct. So it's an average consumption if I consider on a DMA or a particular town on a daily basis or on a on a daily basis. So in the hourly there can be fluctuations. There is a peak hour, there is a lean hour. So that all is taken care during the design. But if suppose in a street 50 houses continuously use more water. So what I see in my lane level metering, I know that okay, this 50 houses, my consumption pattern should be this much. 10% here and there is okay. I can still sustain the other sub DMS. But if it's going beyond 50%, there can be two scenarios. 15 or 20, 15, 20, 30%, there can be two scenarios. One, somewhere my water is profusely leaking, or two, somebody has kept his tap open, or some consumption has gone haywire. I will give you an example. For 10 days, we could not find a leak where my pressure was completely dropping and water was leaking. You know, my government hospital's tank was overflowing slowly, 24 hours. So, but I was unable to find it. I did not have a sensor there, or in 10 days of surveillance, we found out that there is a problem. So, there are problems. That's why we made them small to sub DMS, so that the surveillance can be easy. So it is not it is not that you can control the supply of water. Like one of the pilot zones in Coimbatore, they are now trying to control. This is rationing. But in 24/7, you have that cushion. Like sir showed, we have operated for 5 years. In none of the cities, we had to increase the WTP capacity. So the consumption, we think that the consumption may increase and all that, but normally with metering, with regular volumetric billing, with proper service delivery, the consumption never increases than the, that's the, right. Because previously, store more, throw more concept was there. You store, then tomorrow you throw because there was stale water.
Yeah, yeah.
So that losses we do not now do. So those things are actually, it saves. That's why our O&M cost never increased. The demand never increased. Yes, for first 1.5 months, you should be ready to bear 150% of supply.
Yeah.
Because people's behavior, they get something, they tend to consume more.
Yeah.
Once couple of bills are there, even my mechanical meter has an error level of 10% or 20%. Still that is not not a meter or a revenue machine for me. It's like a CCTV camera for me. It looks at the consumer. So the consumer becomes attentive. Even if I am Ambani, if I am knowingly losing 10 rupees, I will be conscious. That is the philosophy.
And one more point, sir. I think it's the security that I'm going to get water whenever I open the tap. Gives me a lot of security and I don't start doing it. As Tripathi sir, Chinmay sir says, initial days I don't trust them because they will give the water and all that. We'll store. It used to happen for us even in Hyderabad when we did for the slums. Every day they were storing, every day they were throwing. But over a period of time, the security gives the confidence not to store or not to use more water or whatever it is. Because we as individuals, we do only that much of consumption because our practices are so that we use only so much. So that's my experience.
Another our learning, sir, when we first installed meters or first went for volumetric tariffing, people were habituated for giving 50 rupees or 90 rupees per month flat, irrespective of whatever they do. But when we first went for metering or bill collection, there were resentment. So all the intellectuals, readers, professors had lot of questions. We had to organize stakeholder consultancies to convince them. But we failed. So what we did, we went to the slums. Now they don't have to store water, so they were very happy of getting a 24/7 connection. Bill payment was on time. So we used that shaming technology. Then the other people fell across line. So sometimes we have to go the reverse route also.
Thank you, sir. With that note, please a round of applause to Coimbatore as well as Orissa. Now let us move to the panel discussion. I would like to invite Ramakant sir once again onto the dais, and I would also request Nilansh sir to come onto the dais once again. And I would request Mr. Giridharan from Smart Terra also to be onto the dais, and I request Chinmay sir also to be on the dais. And sir, I request Gopal Krishna sir also to be on the dais, but you will be coming from a public-private partnership angle, more of from, questions on the sewage side. Okay, right. Yeah, I would request Ramakant sir to chair this session while I'll be asking certain questions.
No chair, nothing. We all are equal.
I'll be asking some questions.
So just honoring me because of the chair. I'm not chair. So actually, we just listen to so many questions from the audience. So so initially I said they are the beautiful audience. It means that they are willing to go for 24/7 water supply system because they are asking so many questions. So somewhere they are curious to know what is happening, how can we achieve 24/7 water supply. So just above to that, or just ahead to that, there are some panels. The same people are here, sitting here, just to make a discussion on the application of the water supply system, and what is the role of the government, what is the role of the MSME, what is the role of the innovators, what is the role of the contractor consultant. So we just have some sort of discussion that how can we move ahead with just taking all these stakeholders all together. So over to ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I think we have had the introduction from everyone sitting here except Giridharan. I would ask Giridharan to briefly tell about yourself, please.
Good evening all. First of all, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Giridharan. I am one of the co-founders of a startup called Smartera. We've been working as a water technology solution provider for the last 4 years, Bangalore based, and we've worked in multiple cities in India and also in Southeast Asia. And I feel I'm very grateful and honored to be part of this session where we'll share our experiences in terms of how it has been over the last few years working with different cities.
Thank you, Giridharan. Yes, sir, please.
Can you please briefly tell us about the technology?
Sure. Thanks. So at Smartera, we are very focused on a particular challenge, which is the non-revenue water losses that currently happen in the distribution system. So what we do is that we have built a number of analytic modules that are use case specific to help utilities discover, identify loss issues. It could be an unmetered connection or it could be a leak with a focus on cost efficiencies here. So, which is to optimize for the number of hardware, sensors, IoT devices required, or manpower deployments that are required. How do we really take the data that is available and make the best out of it, leverage the data towards achieving cost efficiencies. So that's the idea. So, and by that, what we also try to do is that we try to onboard utilities earlier into start becoming more data driven. So they can start data driven operations and would not have to wait for a very capex intensive data infrastructure project to be completed. So that's what is Smartera all about. And we have multiple pilots. We're working with L&T, Suez, Metro Pacific in the Philippines. We have a pilot with PUB Singapore also. And with all these experiences, we have a mature product that is currently now being offered to multiple cities in India. So.
Thank you. I think let me start with you. From your journey, what are the different challenges that you faced on the ground to start your technology, like, to make someone believe that you can do the smart metering or whatever the data management system for NRW reduction?
I'd like to speak on behalf of innovators, startups primarily. There are a number of them who are in India who have been supported by MOHUA under different programs. And one of the primary challenges that we face is that we don't have the financial capability to create awareness and to educate work at the ULB level. So this was very strongly felt because ULB itself is not from a capacity perspective, but even in terms of time and availability, they are serious challenges. There are very few engineers operating the entire network, and they need to also look at new innovative ideas, challenging situations that they need to address, etc. So it is difficult for startups with very limited financial capability to go ahead and introduce an idea that challenges existing methods. So everything is guidelines driven. So that's what we saw as a challenge initially. So instead of conversing directly to the end consumer, we had to take other routes. For example, we worked primarily with operators who have had a large number of experience, who can give us real data so that we can provide them with results and demonstrate what our solutions can do. So, and we had to wait for a time where we could start to work directly with cities, which is still an evolving situation for us. So that's one particular challenge that probably is the most key challenge. And it's being addressed by platforms that are provided by MOHUA, the grant that was provided as well, where very clearly thought through partnerships were built. So startups were identified, they were assigned to cities which has a problem that these startups could address, and then there was a method and team also available to handhold so that the cost of having to create awareness and engage with the ULBs was taken away or was addressed for the startup. So that's one challenge.
Thank you. Sir, now I'm turning at you. Now that if you want to upscale, now you're at 24 for upscaling across the state of Odisha, or even to take it forward to the other cities in India, what do you think are the technologies or the innovations that are required? And how do you mitigate the challenges that Mr. Giri was just mentioning?
I agree. One thing I will agree that with we have for 24 cities, at least for 17, 18 cities, we have almost 4 years data of so many control points at every 5-second interval. So there is a big database. So my point is, if we do a big data analysis or we go into the AI and machine learning thing, we can actually optimize the use of sensors and valves. I mean, sometimes we become so aggressive in controlling that we put redundant more number of sensors and valves. So with now, like I showed in my presentation, first 1 year when we collected data, we could actually plot the consumption pattern of that DMA. Then next year then we realized this is the consumption pattern in summer months, winter and rainy season. So then our operation aspects also changed from the next year. The more data we collect, that graph is automatically getting calibrated, or the more precise it becomes. So our operation modalities becomes more efficient. Now we think unnecessarily I was doing that when I could have done this simple way. So the point is, with a lot of one innovation I can say is that we must introduce the big data analysis or the data driven evidence based planning, that should be taken care. Then the second thing, I think we are too much obsessed on the flow and pressure. That's okay, that is needed. But when we talk about drink from tap, quality is the key. I was happy to see Sir's presentation where he emphasized quality, the number of spots they are taking samples. In our case also, we have created the water quality assurance cell. But sometimes, if I go to IS 10,500 parameters and the frequency of their measurement, they are enormous. And the money, the investment that is needed to make those tests are also big. I am talking about the O&M perspective. Suppose I do not have iron in my, or some pesticides, I do not get it, but I have to test them periodically to comply to that IS 10,500. So what I am trying to say here is, instead of blindly following a protocol, we can create our own surveillance plan and our monitoring plan to satisfy the IS 10,500 parameter. And for that also, on the quality aspect, we need more innovations. Quality monitoring aspect, we need, because the quality measurement parameters are standard. But on the monitoring aspects, more innovations can come in. Like for the NRW, everybody is focusing on the leak identification, flow and pressure management. That is okay. But for the quality monitoring and surveillance, we can bring in more innovations also.
Thank you, sir. I think that's a good point to share with your other colleagues, that what kind of innovations that the government, state and central governments are looking for, and how we can, take forward innovations in scaling up drink from tap program. Now I'm turning to you, Nilak sir, that you have seen India during the initial stage and how it is growing now. You also have a perspective of international organization, a network of organization. How do you see that you can support the states or the central government in terms of taking this drink from tap program for scaling up?
Thank you for asking that difficult question. The two presentations that I heard this afternoon were excellent. And I'd like to point out one of the two key things that were presented by both the speakers here. The first thing is the political will and convincing your elected officials the importance and the significance of what we do as water professionals. Unless we have the courage ourselves to convince our elected officials that this is required, nothing will move forward. I'll share an example with you. We needed a 26% rate increase at my utilities. And we had people, of course, objecting and opposing that such a big rate increase. And so the mayor of my city calls me and says, what the heck is going on? And I explained to him, even though he was debriefed, he had forgotten, right? Because that is what elected officials have, so many other priorities. He had forgotten about it. So I sat down with him again. And he says, can anything be done about it to reduce the rate increase? And I said, look, Mayor, these are our costs. This is what it takes. And I tell you, we have an option for our residents, which is the lake is right there. They can go collect buckets of water and take it back to their home for free. They don't have an obligation to buy it from us. They can go to the lake and get the water themselves. But if they want it delivered to their house, they will have to pay for it. And the mayor says, fine. Next day he goes on the TV and the radio stations and says, look, you guys can get free water as much as you want. Just go to the lake and get all the water that you want. But if you want water delivered to your own house, Think about this, how many of the products that we use on a daily basis gets delivered to our house? And, well, not free of charge. But yeah, so when you think about it, water, electricity, natural gas, telephone, right? Those landlines are no longer existing. So those are the three fundamental things that get delivered. We are all happy to pay for electricity. We are all happy to pay for natural gas. But when it comes to water, we have an issue. And so that mindset has to be changed, which everybody can learn from the Odisha experience. The second thing he mentioned, and also the Coimbatore experience, water quality is extremely, extremely important. And that one graph you had seen about jaundice, just from here down to this, when the water quality improved. And one thing that is really lacking, and I tried very, very hard to include accountability of utilities and states and cities on the water quality aspect in the revised manual of water supply and treatment. And I really got a very hard pushback from the chairman of the committee at the time, saying this just cannot be implemented. In the US, the state government basically has the authority to go to the Department of Justice, issue a notice of violation, and if we don't correct those violations within a certain amount of time, they can penalize us at $25,000 a day for not meeting those. And now you go and ask the politicians, for those who are refusing to pay or provide this funding, to say, now how are we going to afford paying this penalties? So there has to be a penalty component to really start making improvements in this country. Just think about this. I have noticed this big change. If you park on the wrong side of the street, the policeman will give you a ticket. If you are speeding or you run through the red light, now I see in India, the camera will take your picture and you will get a ticket at home, right? So there has to be an accountability for us to do those things, and I hope someday that will change. And of course, there is a big issue with the non-revenue source, non-revenue in India, and that has to be taken care of first. But the other thing is also having sufficient revenues to meet your at least the minimum O&M requirements for investment in your infrastructure, to make sure those things are functioning. I heard somebody make a comment that the longer the farther the source of water supply, there are more leaks. I can tell you this, we have a water pipeline, treated water pipeline that goes 104 kilometers to the farthest community. The leak in that pipe is less than 0.2%. Because it goes back to the construction as to how the pipe was installed and the manufacturing of that pipe and how the joints were put together so those leaks don't happen. And how we monitor continuously for both corrosion and for the flows in that pipeline. And we respond and react if there is an issue. That pipeline has been in service since 2007, and it is still, after all the 17 years, same 0.5% or less leak in the pipeline. Now there are more leaks in the distribution system, but in the US and many places around the world, that if your leaks exceed 12 to 15% of your incoming flow versus all what you accounted for, you need to do a non-revenue study, do a leak detection study to find out where all those leaks are, and you need to get them below that 12 or 15% mark. But those are some things, and then technology plays a huge part of it. In our water system, from source water to 104 kilometers away, everything is automated. We don't have operators on the site. Every night from 11 p.m. to 7 p.m., there is not a single operator everything is run by the computers. And on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we only have an operator for 8 hours a day, nothing for 16 hours. So technology can be a big, big help in managing the water system. So what else can I say?
I think I'll come for the next round. You have told us a lot of things, which is really good. And yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
When there is a question of water tariff comes, I used to tell them water is free I am charging you service charges only for delivering the water.
Yeah.
But it is not actually privatized. Personally feeling, of course, I may be wrong. Privatization may not be affordable in the Indian context now.
I am not.
In the water needs to be subsidized.
No, I am not saying that it should be privatized. What I'm saying is the role that you can bring
Yes.
in.
Yes,
How do we
because-
scale that role? That's what
Yes,
I'm
because
trying to ask.
because of its requirement to maintain the standards for 25 years, they do really good quality work. Compared to a normal contract or something, their design, work, everything is of a higher quality, better than what in the normal government contract we do.
Okay. Okay. Right. At this moment, I'll again go back to Giri. Giri, can you tell me, as you also work with cohort of so many other innovators as part of the Innovator Challenge, you also were one of the participant in that whole process. As Wash Innovation Hub, you also interact with a lot of your colleague innovators. Can you tell us what are the capacity issues that you face and what kind of capacity building are you looking for from the government or the bigger networks like our or any other bigger private sector players?
That's also a fantastic thing, a question as such. So there are about 70 startups that we're onboarded, and we've interacted with all of them. They are all solving one particular aspect of a much more larger landscape of activities and use cases and issues. So we all come with our own specific perspectives of how we solve the issue, but the utility or the end consumer cannot really come to that simple issue alone and absorb the new technology or the new solution offered. So there is always a challenge in terms of understanding what would work for a water utility. There are certain introductions required. People, at startups, when they come into working in water sector, they need to first understand how water sector is different from let's say the EV or the transportation sector or such other sectors. So this is a major issue that we've discussed multiple times with startups. So this is a capacity issue also. Water is in some sense a natural monopoly, if we can argue that way. So there are certain characteristics that the sector has in terms of who the stakeholders are, how would they move, how much time would it take, what should be the pricing accordingly, what challenges are there in terms of ensuring that there is equity also, because that's the more important objective for utilities. When compared to profitability, how would the government partner, end of the day, the end beneficiary also, how would they really, how are they part of a consumer experience? Or how do they behave as consumers, etc., is not fully understood. So a lot of startup solutions, they either come from colleges, it's their final year thesis, which was really good, and then they tried to commercialize it. Or it could be that they have come from a very different sector where there is a similar solution. You can transport or bring a solution that worked in another sector that's very applicable to a problem in water as well. So when these things happen, when such startups come into picture, there needs to be an education in terms of how water sector behaves, and not just in India, it's a global thing. There are very many common traits that way, and I think there is a lack. People learn the hard way. We have seen generations of companies share their experience saying that 15 years ago I was a startup or we were a small company. We went through the same issue and we learned it over a lot longer period. And so there is that support required, and which is partly being addressed in some of the trainings that are provided to startup cohorts that are specific to water sector alone. And I think more of that is required, and that itself is very useful as such, to get properly introduced to the sector, set expectations right so that we can communicate it back to our investors also, because there is that gap as well. People make promises that they can't keep, and there are assumptions that are very generalized, not very sector specific, tailored to what the sector can really meet. And so these are gaps that I think platforms such as ASCII or ICCW, there are different agencies that should actually help build as a capacity to every new batch of startups that are coming in or innovators that are coming in. I think that would be very useful. Thanks.
Thank you, Giri, for that. Sir Ramakant, sir, now the question is to you. Now, Mahua government and CPHO, a lot of enabling policies have been devised, and then the programs like Amrut 2.0, Pitch to Pilot Scale projects are there to encourage private sector participation, also to promote the innovations. But still, we are lacking in I won't say we are lacking, but we need, country like India needs, much better enabling environment. How do you foresee building that kind of an environment, enabling environment, sir?
Madam, our role is very limited. Just to provide the fund, to just create some environment for people. We just make a policy how to just move forward with the ease of doing business. That we are doing. We are just having partners like ASCII, you, beautiful partners. We have Center of Excellence. We have so many organizations associated with the ministry that they are propagating this implementation of the water supply schemes. They are just very much deeply involved in the capacity building at the root level, at the urban local body levels. They are also guiding the states. They are also bringing the private partners into the mainstream, how to promote the partner. Just as Reddy said, how difficulties they face to come in the mainstream. Just government is providing incentive or grant or supports to this private sectors to come forward, because they are the pillar of the societies. If they are not here, ministries cannot do anything because of this innovators, public-private partners, consultant, contractors, everyone, implementers, urban local bodies. So we are nothing. We are just working through all you people. So these are some better stakeholders. They are supporting the ministry. Ministry also doing putting our efforts to move ahead with the different resources. So these are some of the things that we are taking care of.
I think this itself is one indication that you are part of such conferences itself for capacity building, as well as encourage both the private sector as well as government to interact with each other and then build the partnerships or take the partnerships forward. At this juncture, let me turn back to you, Tripathi sir. How do you foresee in the scaling up of DFT the role of private sector? How we can embrace, how we can, how the cities should encourage or partner with whether it is medium scale small innovators or even bigger players like bigger companies.
The partnership basically is driven by the need. The moment we are under pressure to deliver something, we look for partners who can actually help us get through the situation, to be very honest. If I just do authoritarian approach, private, public, that doesn't work anymore. When I have a target, when I have a problem to solve, I have to see for partners, may it be public, may it be private. I have to see where the knowledge comes from, where the expertise comes from, who can help me. I will tell you a small example, sir. This drink from tap, when we boast drink from tap, the sentence is kind of an instruction, drink from tap. Now tomorrow if a waterborne disease happens or an opposition guy comes with a dirty glass of water and says, these guys are bluffing, these are all bad water, your life is at risk. So basically we are standing on a shore, our necks are always hanging. 24/7 drink from tap means you are on your toes 24/7. You have to be ready on your toes 24/7. Anytime anybody may complain, because 24/7 is an engineering term, still it is okay. When you say drink from tap, it means in your sentence you are assuring quality. So when you are assuring quality, you cannot keep the difference of public, private or anything. To achieve that, everything has to be seen as a partnership. I'll tell you a small example, sir. We have just declared a city, 6 to 1 year ago. This may happen to anybody, and it's good to share. We declared a city as drink from tap. 80% of the DMS, we had 18 DMS, 15 DMS we've declared as drink from tap. 24/7 supply is going. Now soon after 3 months, the demand got stabilized, and we thought we are all happy that okay, it's going on good. All our mobile parameters comes good. One fine evening, suddenly 35 diarrhea cases came up in a city called Rourkela in Odisha. Now you see, all our sleep was gone. All our senior folks rush to the any time it can happen. Every time you cannot run out of luck, that okay, it'll go good. So no deaths had happened, but 35 cases. And the moment the health officials, the health department people will first to reach the spot. I'm sharing my experience of incidence management and how we brought in a private sector to help us come out of the situation. So the health department people, typically they will say it is the water contamination. You ask the water supply people, they have provided bad water. Now if we talk to our local engineer, he will say, sir, there was an exhibition, there was a food mela, the poisoning is from that only, my water is good, you see my quality, all laboratory test report you see, everything is in line, maybe it is from that food infection or something, they are unnecessarily putting blame on us. But as a utility, I can get away. But the government is still answerable for I cannot say this street might drink from tap, that street is not drink from tap, that guy has dual sources. You know, the practical is, if I have a bore well, I will never close. I will use dual sources of water sometimes. But if the contamination happens, I will turn back to the government. So if I say it might be a bore well water, it is not my water. Nobody will listen to my stories. So I am invariably accountable for all the water the people are using. I am talking as a government perspective. So we had to identify. Then we identified, okay, if there was a systematic problem, then let us do a residual chlorine modeling in our system, whether in my WTP it is 3 ppm, in my ESR it is 1 ppm, how at the end it is becoming less than point, because the health department did an independent check, and 1 or 2 places they said it was less than 0.2 ppm. My people tests are showing it is 2.2 ppm. So we did a modeling. Now we did not have that knowledge how to do that. So suddenly we looked for resources who can help us do that and identify I cannot identify with I didn't have time to use a robotic camera and find cracks, and so I have to immediately catch hold of the contaminant situation. At that time, we got hold of a professional or a private party who helped us do that. We identified few locations. That time, all our data that we collected, of 3-month data that we had, but the repair data and all of data, in 2 days we mined everything and we could pick up the spots. Ultimately, no death has happened and we came out of the situation. But 2 things we learned: how to manage the incidents, because when you say drink from tap, incidences may happen, you have to manage. So the media, there was a big hype, big negativity was also there, election was round the corner. So we partner with a media agency to help to front the public and media front. So that was one kind of partnership. One scientific kind of partnership, I told how did we do the residual chlorine modeling, because time and traveling, if somebody, the health department guys took sample from a stored bucket of water, now the residual chlorine will be less there. But when I say the story, nobody listens to me on a TV channel. So we have to scientifically prove it that this is, and I cannot say this is not my water, that is his water. So we have to manage the incidents, and that time you really don't think who is government, who is private, what partnership is needed. You need whoever is needed to handle the situation. So the need actually drives the need of partnership. Then the mutual respect also. What was the cause? Sir, finally, I'll tell you, it was not definite, because it is very difficult to actually identify. Many people had dual sources of water, and even if some DMAs where our 24/7 never reached, that people, more cases were from that area. But my secretary said, you cannot say that. They would have traveled to this your market area and then they have gotten, how can you differentiate that area? I have not provided, so it's not my business. You cannot say that. So still I had to do a proper surveillance. Till date, I cannot say how those 35 cases, then we sat there for 5 days, the moment cases 31, 29, 24, 23, we waited for 5 days just crossing our fingers. We did our job during that time. But so, one of the critical point is after we commission the drink from tap, the KPIs of revenue collection, all that is okay. But the incidence management, because once the public trust is broken, it is very difficult to regain it. So the incidence management also we have to be very careful. It is a real story that I told you, and we suffered after all that glory. When somebody says these are all rubbish, then you get shaken up. So we have to be prepared for those incidents management. And when this crisis comes, any partners is okay.
And that the need had led you to take for, but then I think the whole essence is you doing the data mining with the support of the private player, because that was lacking in-house was the key there.
Yes.
So that's I think is very important.
My point, ma'am, when our objective is very clear, our goal is very clear, then there should not be any differentiation or thinking of private or public or anything.
Yeah.
Whoever is needed to achieve it, we should not differentiate at all. Exactly. We give utmost that authoritarian approach or that legacy approach has to go away now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go on that side and put the private operator on this side to solve the issue and respect his knowledge or experience. That's what
Well said, sir. I think that's one of the very critical point, that we all have to work in partnership, whether it is private, government, educational institution, training institution, or a network, or association, or innovator. At this juncture, I would like to again go back to Nilaksh, sir. One simple question. Now, the country like India needs a lot of smaller private players, the MSMEs. So, as a network of bigger organizations or the private sector players and the contractors that you interact with, how do you, what are your suggestions for building the capacities or the nurturing these MSMEs to reach to take forward the Drink from Tap program? Because country like India, such a huge country with so many people, we need more and more of both MSMEs nurturing by the bigger companies. And how do you see this whole role?
What is MSME?
Medium and small enterprises. Like the innovators, they are just starting. Yeah.
I think Giri summarized it very well. No money, no honey. Yeah, right. And so the programs that you have to help out through the MOHUA and through yours of promoting those kind of programs should be the first step. Unlike India, in the US, we can work with small companies. But what happens is they all have to have a tremendous amount of liability insurance. Should it not work, then we can claim those from the insurance company if the company cannot support it. And that further helps allowing small companies to play a big role. For example, for some of you who may remember, in 1988, there was this incident in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the whole outbreak of cryptosporidium happened. Do any of you remember that cryptosporidium incident where thousands of people got sick and hundreds of people died from that cryptosporidium event? And that changed the dynamics of the whole country in terms of monitoring trust in the water quality and things like that. And everything had to be brought back to normal, and it took about 5 to 7 years before we got there. And a lot of treatment processes, especially the conventional water treatment processes, were significantly changed. We did not have ozonation as part of that. So ozonation technology started coming. A lot of small upcoming ozone firms, started investing money in them. Then membrane technology came. And I worked with a membrane technology company who actually was extremely small. And through proper contracting, we actually were the largest membrane plant back in 1991 for the treatment process. And they got bought out by a big conglomerate. And that is what is going to happen in India. All the small firms, if they have a product, somebody is going to buy them out and they'll become a part of a bigger MNC. And that is how they will eventually grow and become successful. And that is how they will get the financial support for that. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and people who are willing to facilitate and show me how it works, right? So you have to have those small pilot scales where you can demonstrate that. And a lot of utilities, even in the US today or in Europe today, adopting or even piloting a new technology is a big challenge because they are all afraid that what if it fails? Well, you only learn from failures. And my philosophy has been failure should not deter us from doing the right things. Otherwise, man would never have gone to the moon. We would have never been driving our vehicles, right? So you have to be able to learn how to manage your risks. Have some confidence in you that, well, I have studied this technology enough. I have a trusted partner. And so I'm going to try this out. And that is how it works.
Thank you, sir. Very important lessons from there. You want to add something, Giri?
Sorry, just to add about support, I have a request also. Again, on behalf of all the small SME startups, innovators, I see that there are these pioneering, successful utilities, such as, say, people on the dais, Watco or Coimbatore or Pimpri-Chinchwad or some of these utilities, who have the capacity already to understand, to articulate the immediate problem statements correctly, rather than having a separate agency do the matchmaking. We could also try, it's only a suggestion, that we give, if that funding is provided to, say, Watco or any of these agencies, they can run an incubation program where it's more direct and there is no need to interpret what the immediate challenges are, because they would already have it ready for the next year, this cohort, and they would look for startups or they would look for innovations. They can bring it to market also. They can hone our skills much better. And since they own the data, they own the all of the assets that are related to the problem statement, it's a direct relationship that way. So I think if the ministry and all the stakeholders involved could consider providing such sort of a platform within the utility itself, rather than a tripartite arrangement, it could make things a little better. I feel so.
Sure. I think that's one of the, again, a good suggestion to take forward. And then Nilak sir was saying very nicely, how the system works when it comes to the smaller organizations, how they can be nurtured and taken forward by the bigger companies, and how it has evolved in US and then other European countries. In a similar way, we also might take forward in that direction. I think now let me stop the questions from here, but I'm very mindful of time. We have already exceeded 5 minutes of our time. But if there are any burning questions from audience, anything that you would like to ask the people sitting on the dais, I encourage you to do so, please. Akar, can you just pass on the mic? Yes, please. Akar, ye de do.
For this Coimbatore contract, since they have, Gopal Krishna sir, since you have awarded 25 years contract, so there must be some already engaged staff, labor unions, There are in water supply sector, there are technical staff, there is labor unions, technical staff unions. So how do you manage that issue actually? Because this is very critical issue everywhere. This kind of issue is faced when we engage some private operator or some company is formed. So how did you
Yes, sir.
address this issue?
Initially, we had a big problem, but luckily for us, the project was taken up only in the core area. So we transferred the staff from the core area to the outer area, and in the core area, the concession was given the responsibility. We didn't take up the work for the total city.
Okay, entire staff was retained.
Yeah.
They were transferred in outer
And
area.
when the project took over, almost 1/3 of the posts were vacant, not filled. The remaining staff we transferred to the added area.
Okay.
Gupta sir, unions are an issue all around the world. It's nothing new to India or to specifically Rajasthan or anywhere else. What I have learned dealing with the unions in my 35 years is you first have to learn to create a relationship when things are going well. And their objective, right, for union is also that their employees have a job and that they're working well to meet the goals and objectives of the organization, along with their quality of life. And as long as you have that conversations and those dialogues on an ongoing basis, when things like this happen, like we went from 3 shifts down to only 2 shifts and then 1 shift, the union employees were all concerned, and what you have to do is figure out a way that we wait until some of them retire, or we try and find new jobs for them, and then train them for wherever we are going to put them, so they trust the management. And again, I go back to this word trust that, Chinmay, thank you, had raised, is you have to have that in order for to accomplish a lot of those objectives that you want. And unless you do that, you're going to ask the same question every single meeting. And most people I have found as engineers, in particular, they don't want to go talk to people. They are problem solvers. They want to sit at their desk and solve a problem instead of going out, talking to their employees, talking to their peers, or talking to their elected officials. And we as engineers need to learn how to communicate for us to be successful in the long run.
That's a very valid point. So that's what I think Tripathi sir was also saying, being a social engineer. Young man, please. And then after that, this is the last question. Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm Shomik from JWL. I have a question to Nilesh sir. So you said that implementing technologies will optimize the system and increase the efficiency overall. Like we can automate the system, we can use AI, we can collect all the data and increase the overall optimization of the system. And it's very true. It increases the robustness of the system. But when we propose it to the administration, the first point in India comes the labor laws, the employment laws. So they accepted that it's efficient and it's useful, but when they pitch it to the administrators or the ministers, whoever it is, they will first oppose the thing because of the labor laws. So how can we implement the technology but also balance the labor laws?
The key here, as I mentioned earlier, is if you are going to implement technology like we did, you have to learn or understand what is your employees' capacity, whether they are in union or your labor that is working for you. And then go out and say, look, this is what we are thinking. This is going to be the impact. Transparency, right? Keep talking with them about those things. And then find out which of those employees are interested in learning new things. And you will be amazed to know that a lot of people will raise their hand and say, hey, I like to do this. For example, I'm trying to learn how to play Nintendo from my grandson. Right? Because we all as humans have this curiosity on learning new things, generally speaking. And that is what you have to sell is, look, this is going to make your life easier instead of the labor work that you are doing by, working out in the field, digging ditches, digging, manholes and things like that. So you will see, it has to be a change in culture in how we approach them.
And also the kind of security you have to give. It's not that we have to remove you, but we are complementing this role. That's how. How much of our automation?
Even if you automate the facilities, right? There are still a lot of components that need O&M.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens is the operators, instead of operating the system, now can become a maintenance or
Biosolids management or the recycling
Exactly.
of
So
the resources. There are plenty of options that are there, which comes along with the automation. That those kind of jobs you need to search and train them and then take them forward from there. Sir, last question from you, and then I am sorry in the interest of the time, but you can continue over the dinner. Yeah.
Can you listen to me? Yes. Yeah. Excellent session, excellent workshop on 24/7. Heartiest congratulations to all the speaker, number one. Number two, I see for the first time that engineers have slowly started speaking the truth that we need to educate our elected representatives and politicians. I mean, Nilakshay is always very severe on this, that he always thinks that why do we as engineers are unable to express these things to the politicians or the elected representative. Now, interestingly, the case study of Puri says that they have been able to convince their elected representatives and politicians. So this is number two question. How do we do that? It is in none of our engineering syllabuses. And the third thing that, in spite of 75 years of independence of India, why there is so much apathy about the drinking water quality for the politicians and the elected representatives? Thank you so much.
Sir, with
No, Nilaksha, I sincerely accept a reply from you.
He's having that capability. He can
the first thing is it requires a lot of time, persuasion, and the message has to be very consistent. And it takes a lot of time. Just think about this. An elected official, even at a municipal level, state level, or at the central government level, they have 99,000 things going on in their life. And water is kind of a flea on the tail of a dog, right? And so they don't pay attention to those things because partly all of our infrastructure is below ground. They cannot see that. And what do politicians like? They want to show big things, big buildings, big airports, with 4-lane roads and all of that, right?
But if you make a WTP of 400 MLD, they will come and innovate.
Yeah, they will come. Correct. But again, we have to bury the pipelines very fast because then, so it takes a lot of your time and energy, and you have to be there where the elected officials are. You cannot expect the elected officials to come to you to discuss water issues unless there is an emergency or a crisis in the water sector. So you have to invest your personal time into meeting with those people where they are. Now, one aspect that I did forget to mention real quickly is it is not only the elected officials, but you also have to talk to your regulators. And if things, for example, are not working out for you in the manual of water supply that was just published, for example, you have to raise that issue and bring it to their attention. And if more and more people talk to them about things that are not working in the manual of water supply, then you will get their attention and say something needs to be done to update the manual because it is not working for a lot of people in this country and a lot of systems in the country. But that is how you affect a change. It is three-legged stool: elected officials, regulators, and your customers. And they all need to trust you when you are going to go and talk to them.
Sir,
Very
I'll
well
just
said.
add
Yeah.
a sentence, sir. With our real experience, whatever as an engineer we go to convince the politicians, that did not work actually. They saw we are trying to create projects, we are trying to create, but the real change happened when the bureaucracy, the administration, being a administrator, or non-engineer, he gets convinced and package the whole concept in a way that he can sell to the political, that after 5 years of your tenure, 30 deaths has happened. What will people say in your next tenure? So we must do something. Otherwise, we cannot answer how 30 deaths happened because of water. So water, we must do something. Then the question, the politician says what to do. Then the packaging starts, that we have to do this. So, so only engineer, if it goes to the politician, it will look like a contractor arrangement. So the administrators has to play a key role here. That is our what we have. I mean.
So,
That engineers like to talk technical language.
yeah.
And they don't understand technical
Right, because that's it says, sir, when
Simplified
the
words, the
administrator being a
bureaucrats can
non-tech guy,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
can package it well, which
To
could be
convince.
understood by the politician. Right.
I think those are the beautiful answers that is given. But I also have one experience of how politicians will play a foul role. Like we had to do water audit survey in one of the taluks in Andhra Pradesh. So we did about 32 villages, entire survey, water audit details and everything. And the minister called the project director and said, I want that report. I said, why do you want that report? We are doing some solutions, we are building some solutions. He said, no, I don't want any solutions. I want the problems to exist so that people will come to me. But the same bureaucrat and the same engineer and the same team went and convinced him that this can result in your vote bank. So it's the way we communicate, it's the way we convince them how it can bring them vote bank rather than people coming with the problems. So with that note, I think I would request Ramakant sir to conclude this session. And thank you very much everyone for your interest and your valuable contributions.
No, nothing to say from my side, because we had a lot of this discussion on that. Every aspects, financial aspects, technical aspects, and political aspects. Many more discussion we have already did it. My only concern is that my submission is to all that we have to think positive. Then we can do everything. That's my thinking, and that has to be implemented. That's the only thing, because Puri has shown how they tackle with this politician, how they tackle with the finance, how they tackle with the technology. Everything is placed, but thinking it should be positive. That's only my thinking. So with this, I would like to close this one and hand over to Nilaj.
Well, on behalf of AWW India, I want to thank you personally for all of you being here this evening, and all the panelists who played a great role, and the two wonderful presentations that were made by our two honorable guests for their experiences, and of course Ms. Snehataji, who actually also kind of gave us a big overview. And she says, we don't have any issues. 24/7 can be done. That is how we all started. And we have Dr. Ramakant here, who actually can help us achieve some of those objectives. And thank you for you sharing, Giri, some of the innovation and things like that. So you want to say anything about the dinner, or we are going to... Dinner kya hai? Dinner hai. Yeah, I think it is. So I don't know the details of that. So here is Mr. Patel, who is the chair of AWW.
बातें हैं ठीक है. So good evening everybody, and thank you for all participating in this workshop. I would thank Dr. Ramakant to spare his busy schedule and come here and be a part of this workshop and give some, a boost or would say moral support to all the water professionals in the sector. I would also like to thank ASCII and our experts coming from Coimbatore and Vatco from Odisha, and the consultants and the other speakers in this workshop. Just to give you a brief that this is our third international conference that we are holding in India. And last in Jaipur, we did a workshop on water advances in water treatment. And we thought that about 20 people would be interested, and we had a very small room, but ultimately it was filled up to the brim, and over 45 people ultimately attended. So it gave us enough encouragement, and we thought we should have another pre-conference workshop, and we are glad that we got about more than 70 participants in this workshop. And I thank everybody to give their time and effort to participate here. And in terms of water, yes, there are many challenges, the scenario, the demographics, the topography, and the value for water across India is quite different. So I come from Gujarat, and we got like water surplus part of Gujarat and water scarce part of Gujarat. And when we work in any arid region, it's very easy to do a water supply project, and people really value as a thing that has been happening. And when you go to a water surplus, they do not value what you are doing. So yes, we have to look at all these parameters, and I would say you need to engineer it differently and strategize it differently. In terms of technology, yes, there are many technologies. There are pros and cons of technology versus employment, and that's true for even all manufacturing and all trades of life, and it's a part and parcel. And of course, AI is also one of the biggest threat being discussed. So we have to live with it, and we'll have to also, try to do it. Yes. So, so most important part. First, we like to, formally welcome our speakers, which we could not do because of the staggered schedule. This is a small memento from our India. So we will be joining for dinner in the restaurant just one floor down, and we are going to have some Goan cuisine. So I hope everybody enjoys, and we can continue these conversations over dinner. Thank you. Acha, tomorrow our yes. Registration, whoever your colleagues have not done, will be starting around 8:30, so they could collect their kits. And the program will start from 9, so everybody, 9:30, so everybody is requested to assemble so that we can stick to the schedule. We have a very long program for tomorrow, and then it will end with another dinner. Thank you.
Not Pitch Pilot, peer learning. As I'm sure after listening to Orissa's case study, all of you must have got very inspired and then would have been motivated. We have a exposure visit to Puri and Bhubaneswar on 24th and 25th of this month. If anyone is interested, please reach out to me. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being good participants. Thanks a lot. We will share. I will share with you, Prasannaji. Okay? You can observe. Okay, whoever wants the presentations can give your names to Mr. Ankur Parashar, my colleague, and we will send it to you.
All the presentations will be loaded on our website also. So, even this and the proceedings of the tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So, all the people can look at it. Thank you.